We are live, Transformer Slag podcast.
Hello.
Yeah, we got JawzD with us also. We got me.
What's up, everyone?
Me finally with a haircut. I went like today was a pretty productive day because especially during all the big V and stuff, everything that's going on in the world, and like the thing is like today I actually got groceries done, got the car washed. The car needed a wash too. Desperately, and then I got the haircut, so very happy with that. What's up, Steven? Everyone's piling in now.
Were you driving around like, yeah?
Oh yeah,
cars washed,
I felt like
put your shades on.
I have like I have the windows down. You know, I'm one of those people that when I drive, I actually don't like to listen to music. I actually kind of just like to enjoy the sound of the engine. I don't know why. I'm very weird like that. Like when I'm driving, I turn off music, but when I'm with people, like I let them do whatever they want, you know. But like, we got Aaron Archer here. Everybody's here. But
what's up, Aaron?
we were talking about this off the air just before we went live. We were pointing out that Michael, one of the guys we know from the Discord, he posted an image of who was it exactly that used the line art?
Oh, I'm not super certain.
It was some individual took because in Figure King magazine they took the new Masterpiece Starscream that's going to be coming out, and they took like the turnarounds, like, you know, the front, the back, and the side line art, and they took that turnaround, put it in a 3D printing program, and 3D printed a Masterpiece Starscream, and it's bananas.
It's just someone like it's
some lunatic,
just uncredited,
some crazy individual
from the hobby magazine.
Yeah,
I'm reading it from the Discord right now.
Yeah,
did a 3D model off of it, then went one step further and printed the thing as a non-transforming physical model. What an era we live in.
Well,
General Techno.
It reminds me, and Aaron Archer could contest to it. Like, it reminds me of back in the day with the BotCon product preview panels, that, like, you know, don't take any photos because a lot of this stuff isn't trademarked yet and it's not official and it's not final. And it's one of the things, like, imagine if like a bootleg guy was in that panel, takes a couple photos, you know, and then goes back to his 3D printer the way everything is today, and 3D prints out, you know, absolutely everything. You know, it's what a world we live in today. What a world we live in today. Bernstein wants to know which TF toy line has the best box art in your opinion. Ooh. That's a tough one. I don't know. I can tell you which has the worst. Probably Robots in Disguise 2001, because they didn't have box art.
Yeah, I didn't really do much on that. They just
I think Beast Machines 2 also did that, where they only used just the toy, like, and they like kind of photoshopped it a little bit to like have like.
Wasn't one of them? Wasn't a good chunk of them they just used Optimus Primal's face?
Well, that was, I think that was Battle of the Allspark. The second half of it, they were doing that too, and the first half was Cheetor. But best. I don't know. I'm just gonna go with Beast Wars just because I have sentimental value to that, and some of it was really gorgeous looking. But I mean, you can't discount G1 and the stuff that, like, was a Mark Watt, who like did like the first stuff. He comes to some of the TF panels.
Oh man, which one would I say? Oh my goodness.
Aaron said here they thought they could promote Cheetor all over again. He's saying for Beast Machines.
But which one would I put? Maybe animated. You get a
animated
had
animated had two pieces of box art, actually. That's true, because they on the side it was one kind of box art, and I believe Marcelo did those, if I remember correctly.
Ooh, maybe alternators.
Yeah.
Maybe alternators, because you had the
Alex Milne did some of those.
Yeah, I would say alternators, and I think I would say alternators, because it kind of keeps that old school G1. You get to see the character on the front, but it's also like that really cool art from the Dreamwave era. So I think I would put that down.
Aaron's like, Marcelo did a ton of TF pack. Yeah, well, that's I just remember specifically the animated ones because I think it was, I want to say it was BotCon 2008. He had a booth and he was showing some of the animated line art from the first wave that he worked on, and that's why I remember a lot of that. He did, yeah, I know that Marcelo done a lot. Marcelo needs to get credited, like how much stuff he's done.
I would also say the like the stuff from the last few years where you get to see these really cool splash pages of all the characters that are in that specific toy line, like what is it called? Battle of the Primes. And, and
so
all,
like
Siege, etc., etc. Like you get that
Megatron on the side. I'm showing here, and then like you have the nice art, like control art or whatever.
I wish we could get like a nice book or like a small like, hey, these are the last box arts from the last few years of all the characters on it. And just do.
Oh, I wish.
That you could just leaf through, on your leisure time.
That's always something where it's like I feel that they wait, 20 years and then they put out that kind of stuff. Like every single art book I've ever gotten, whether it be video game related, like Mega Man, or it's always like, oh, we waited like 15, 20 years before we put out this art book, which I guess it's good in a sense because at least you end up like with the finalized version. You don't like have an art book come out and then there's more stuff that comes out that could be added. So I guess it kind of makes sense.
I think I really appreciate what they're doing with the more modern stuff because it reminds me of like when I was a kid and I picked up Power Master Optimus Prime, and you turn to the back of the box, and instead of seeing all the toys, you're seeing an art of all the toys. And you're like, who's this? Who's that guy?
Power Master Optimus Prime has like a top 10 G1 box art though. That's why like that's almost like an unfair example. Like that's like one of the best.
But I'm saying I'm comparing what they're doing now, where you're getting like this is the story of all these characters that are coming out in this series, and they're just boom in the box art.
I don't have near me. Actually, I'll show I got this recently. The Generation 2 reissue Tiger Electronics game.
They reissued that?
Yeah, so Hasbro's done here. If you've seen it, it's From the Vault, which actually is their trademark from their Magic the Gathering stuff. So this is their From the Vault series, Hasbro Gaming. And so because they own Tiger, they started reissuing old Tiger Electronics games, but mostly stuff that's based off of other licenses. So they did the X-Men one, they did Little Mermaid and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 or 3. I think it's 2. I could be wrong.
Probably 2.
Yeah, I think it was 2. But so those are out. Like if you go to EB Games or GameStop or whatever, they're kicking around now. So they're pretty cool. And they're 100% like the originals. Like it's crazy. Like even the quality. I was like, wow. But considering
I think the one I played the most was Virtua Fighter. That was my favorite.
Oh wow. my very first one, I never owned any as a kid, but I had a friend who had a Double Dragon one, and I used to play the hell out of that. And then we did a road trip, and then his mom got him Altered Beast, which was another like oh my god, like
you know what I had? I had R Zone.
R Zone.
Oh man!
Those were terrible.
Man, it's so cool. It's like a Virtual Boy on the go. Not really.
No.
It's basically their.
It's just a good way to get blind.
No, basically what it is that they're just projecting the game onto an eyepiece that's further out from you.
Well,
so it's not really
makes
doing
you feel like
special.
a Saiyan.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I used to do. I used to run around like, oh yeah, everything's over 9,000.
Everything's over 9,000 before the memes. Someone asked a question here. DownrightSuperb asks, going to my first Transformers convention next week. He's going to DairyCon, which I would love to go to one time in the future. DairyCon, contact me. Let's have me and JawzD be guests or something.
Oh.
Give me a free table. We'll make it amazing. What were each of your first conventions like? Here's the thing. First Transformer convention or first convention? My very first convention was a small Comic-Con when I was a little kid. My dad brought me to. But my very first Transformer convention was BotCon 2001. It was really close, and that's the only reason why I was able to pull it off. I went with Goober and Meesum, 2 TFCon regulars, and that was incredible because at that time, like, you know, you're so, I don't know what's the word, naive. Like, you're so naive, like, you all of a sudden you're in a room with, like, thousands of other people that love Transformers.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, oh my God, there's a guy with a tattoo at Optimus Prime. Like, I don't know. How old was I? God, 2001. I was 19. And I was just like, I loved it all. And I remember I had a little, like, digital camera that could record footage. And I was just recording everything, every possible thing. You know, they were playing music over the intercom, over like the I guess like the over intercom of the dealer room. They were playing like Stan Bush music and everything. And that same year, they came out with a collection of Vince DiCola's music, so they were playing that too the whole weekend as a kind of like way to promote it, to buy the CD. And man, like, that was crazy. I fanboyed so bad that weekend. You have no idea. I look back now and go like, wow, I was so bright-eyed back then for conventions. Now it's just like, you roll in, you do your thing, you roll out, you know, like it's like they just kind of like kind of like come to pass so quickly now. But man, it's a whole other thing. Anyways, I know yours was...
For me, it was so my first convention was small, one of the really small and one of the smaller Montreal Comic Cons, when it was actually about comic books. Where you had all the dealers were people from that owned actual comic book stores, and they had all the long boxes and stuff.
The Delta Hotel ones.
Yeah, Delta. This is at the Delta, and they had an anime room at the time, and they had a video game section where you'd play imported Japanese games on PS1s.
PS1, and I think they had a Sega Saturn also, if I remember correctly.
Maybe. I remember one of them was like a Japanese, what was it called again?
Variable Geo.
Guilty Gear.
There was variable...
One of them was Japanese Guilty Gear as well on the PlayStation. So my first Transformers convention was TFCon. What year was that? Derek Wyatt. It was Derek Wyatt was there.
So Derek was there. Who else was there? What was the exclusive? Do you remember?
Was there exclusives?
Yeah, there had to have been. I think it was 2000. It was Nightbird. So it was 2000. So 2010.
I think that was my first one.
Yeah, it was 2010 because and Derek was there in 2010.
So that was the first time I ever met Derek, and I got to hang out with him a little bit. And I was like, just trying to be cool, not be too fanboy and be weird. I got to do the. Was it David K was there? What was the name? What was the name of the guy that played? He was locked down in the recent movie, but he was also Jetfire. He was Old Man Jetfire in the anime in the Bay movies.
His name escapes me right now. It was
British guy.
It's Mark something. So, someone in the chat know who he's talking about.
So I think that was my first one, and I actually got to be on the original version of Transformers Slag. Was it Transformers when it was
Canadian Slag back in the day?
Canadian Slag, and I popped in, and like everyone was super nice. Everyone was very welcoming. It was very fun. I got to geek out. First time I met Goober.
And Mark Ryan,
yeah, he was super nice. He actually like jumped in. If you could find that old episode, he jumps like we were recording it at the hotel bar.
At the
and
Quest
he was there
bar
with somebody.
back in the day.
Yeah, and he came like we asked him like just to come in and say a few words, and he did. He was like super nice about it, and we just like we don't want to keep you, and he went on his way and everything. He called Goober's hat a tea cozy. I got to be animated Jazz for the
script reading.
The script reading, and I got to meet David K.
You have a nice epic photo with him. I love using that photo. It's like a very meaty handshake.
Yeah,
and it's like every time like you're like, oh, Wendell's gonna be with David K as his liaison. I always use that photo. It's like.
And I think one of the funniest things from that weekend was we were at the DoubleTree, and I was walking by the cafe, and the rapper Busta Rhymes was there.
Yes.
And so I'm freaking out, and like
Goober freaked out.
Me and one other guy knew who he was. And then when I came to the staff room or when I came to see you guys, I was like, oh my god, Busta Rhymes is over by the cafeteria, da, da, da. And everyone's like, who's that? And Goober's like, Busta Rhymes, and he was the only person that freaked out with me. And no, Busta Rhymes is not a TF fan. He was just, I think he was
just happened
there.
to be
He was
there
in Toronto, and I think he had a layover or something in Toronto before he went back to New York. And me and Goober got to say hi to him, but I was trying very hard to not be crazy and wild, and his bodyguard had to like make sure we stood between him, like
especially when you have Goober beelining towards you. Like, oh my god, Busta, I love you, Busta. It's just like,
but Goober's a real one. Goober. I was like, Goober, what do you know about Busta Rhymes? And he was like, yeah, he was part of Leaders in New School. And so I was like, whoa, okay, Goober knows who he is. Really, really knows who he is. So I thought that was pretty cool. that was one to remember.
that was the Nightbird year. I think I did the video game panel that year. Now I'm remembering. That was a good year.
Yeah, we got to. I think everyone was making sure that Derek White had poutine, and there was like the Harveys.
Oh right.
I think they took him to the Harveys there.
Yeah, there were still the Harveys across the street.
Yeah,
but that's not like a good poutine. That's mid-tier poutine.
No, I did not get to meet Philomar. Philomar has not done a TF Con.
Yeah, I think
I got to be Philomar. Basically, I was animated jazz.
Yeah, Wendell got to play animated jazz, and even David Kay said he was channeling Philomar. Actually, I think there's footage of that. There's footage. I think it's on Vangelis's channel. I believe he recorded it. So there's footage of it too. You hear when because they were choosing who's gonna become Jazz, and then when you hear, if you listen carefully in the background, you hear David Kay's like, yeah, I think Wendell's got this, right? Wendell's like, oh yeah, and then if you listen carefully, you hear ha, and it's me, and I was in the back. I think I was like sorting some CDs or something, and like I was like, oh snap! You could hear it on the audio. Anyways.
Yes, we're talking about TFCon. Always talking about TFCon.
Yeah. Larry, I think he said his was 2013. Larry popped in just now.
What's up, Larry?
Yeah, I think it was 2013, Larry. And you know what? Just for the heck of it, because I mean, I always tell people like, I love TFCon, but your first BotCon, how was that for an experience for you?
Our first one was Chicago, right?
Your first one was Chicago. That is correct.
So it was after TFCon did Chicago,
so
and then BotCon did Chicago, but it was like a further down the road or something.
2014. I could be wrong. Someone correct us. Well, I think it was 2014. Sounds about right. Yeah.
That one was fun. I enjoyed it. It was definitely different.
Much bigger.
Just I was surprised how big it was, and I don't know. I still had fun. Like I got to meet more people from the community,
the international community, pretty much. Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool, and that was entertaining. Got to meet your boy Hydra for the first time.
We're all chilling in our room. Minding our own business. I think we arrived Thursday or something. All of a sudden, knock at the door. It's like, who the hell is that? And I don't even remember giving Hydra my room number. I think he probably just went to the front and was like, "Where's Daniel Arsenault?"
I just said your name. Yeah. He's like,
"Give me the room for Daniel." There's a knock at the door, and then the giraffe just comes in. Under the door. It's like, "What's up, bitch?" Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of tall people. I've never known people that tall.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met like NBA grade tall.
Yeah.
Until I met Hydra.
It was Larry's first BotCon too. Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
I think it was a lot. It was the first for a lot.
It was a lot of us.
Yeah, it was first for a lot of people. I think it was like me and John were like the veterans in that. Oh, and Silas too. He joined us in the room. Okay, we have a question here. If we miss any questions, by the way, just be sure to repeat them because sometimes so much stuff gets posted that gets bumped up. Do you think Transformers Victory characters get good modern figures? Will get good modern figures eventually? I think so. I mean, I've always said this. It really has to do with what Hasbro intends to do with the larger price points mixed with trademarks. So, like, here's one. The Sky Shadow trademark. That's one where it's like you're probably, because Hasbro keeps using that Sky Shadow trademark, which is Black Shadow from Transformer Victory, you might see it over and over. You know, I mean, every 4 years you might get a Sky Shadow something. And then when you think of other,
I've kind of liked the Sky Shadow figures they've come out with.
Yeah.
Like the Chug one, the one for what was it, Titan's Return,
Titan Returns,
and everything.
the leader class, yeah, that was a really good one.
I think they've done a really good job bringing those keeping that character and IP around.
Well, yeah, and so, but it's like then it's like, you know, they registered Lio Kaiser, and that was it's funny actually, that was 2016, so it's kind of up for renewal. But it really is. It just has to do with what they intend. Like the thing is, we're going into a beast year now, and yeah, there might be a few G1 characters peppered in there, but I wouldn't hold your breath for Kingdom right now. I mean, hey, we might get a surprise. Maybe the Commander class figure will be Star Saber. You know what I mean? But really, maybe next series, whatever it'll be, would probably be a better chance. It's something where a lot of times those characters, they just don't have a pop culture presence on this side of the ocean, and so, and not to mention, because there's no more, like, you know, what Takara's doing is vastly different than what Hasbro's doing, because there's such a synergy now with that, it kind of hurts the chances of Japanese characters. It's like they did a box set not too long ago. It was the big powered box set where it had a retooled Diatlas, a retooled Sonic Bomber, and a retooled Roadfire from a whole bunch of Titan Return molds, and that only came out on the Japanese side, and that's when Transformers Legends was still a thing. Today it isn't, unfortunately.
Right.
I mean, again, I would love it. I would love to see, like, you know, Dino King, the Breast Masters, the Brain Masters, and all of that stuff. But it's, I mean, and I love Road Caesar. Road Caesar is one of my favorite combiners of all time, but it's really tough to imagine that. I would love to be wrong, but it's one of those things where it's like, I just don't see it. There's another question someone asked. What if they made a Transformers X Mega Man crossover with Mega Man and Protoman figures as Target Masters? Well, Capcom and Hasbro and Takara have done business before. They did that Street Fighter line. So I could see it. Super fighting robots with giant transforming robots. Heck, there's even been
they were fighting robots. Transformers.
Exactly.
Wait, what?
Well, and not to mention, there actually has been 2 transforming Mega Man characters. There was Turbo Man, I believe that one was Rider Man from Mega Man 11, and of course, if you want to count Gyro Man and Mega Man EXE. So you know,
what about Rush?
And Rush, Rush is like a 6 changer.
Swiss Army knife there.
Yeah, so it's true. Yeah, you're right. But that's why, and there's combiners too, technically, if you even count that. You know, so I could see that. I would love it. I could see. I don't know if they're going to do it anytime soon. I'd have to go back and look what year. Mind you, I think it was for an anniversary or something when they did it. It was because I think it was Street Fighter 2's 25th anniversary or 20th anniversary, and it was Transformers' 25th anniversary, and that's why they did that crossover. So maybe they'll do something for some kind of a crossover or something. I would love that. You know me, for Protoman Transformer, 200%. But it's something where I think they'll probably wait for an anniversary. I think
if that happened, your background would just be boxes and boxes of it. And
I would definitely
blot out your collection.
I would definitely get 3 of them for sure. Like
you would hoard it out, and it's like, why did you do that?
Minimum 3 of them. Transformers 2002 asked, do you think that with the upcoming 10th Transformers Prime 10th anniversary and 2-pack, do you think that there's a chance of getting Prime characters in the RED line? So the Transformers RED line is a 6-inch. It's pretty much Hasbro doing Marvel Legends and Star Wars Black Series, but for Transformers, like just 6-inch non-transformable figures. And we've already know that we're going to be getting Prime RC is going to be in it. Obviously, a bunch of G1 characters. Do you think there'll be something for the 10th anniversary? We'll see. The funny thing with that line is we know so little about it. Like, we were shown just a couple of characters. We saw Soundwave, Megatron, Optimus. I think we saw... Who else did we see? I think we saw one other. And they've listed other stuff, but we just haven't seen anything yet. So who knows? I think they're going to do that first wave, and if that wave is successful, then we'll see more. But I wouldn't hold your breath right now to get more Transformer Prime stuff. It is the 10th anniversary this year, technically, but we'll see what happens. We'll see. Would you rather us get a new G1 Buzzsaw or a new Beast Wars Buzzsaw? Beast Wars Buzzsaw is in the Waspinator repaint. That was a yellow jacket wasp. Um, that's a tough one because I really like. I
And to
really
see what G1 Buzzsaw looks like.
it was a
Oh,
repaint.
okay,
It was a
yeah.
repaint of Laserbeak. Um,
I would say
I would
say
the
Beast
Beast
Wars.
Wars.
I would say
Yeah,
Beast Wars.
the Beast
They
Wars.
need-
Just because it would also give us an excuse because I always imagined like the ones that had the mutant heads, right?
Yeah.
I always imagined that, with the exception of obviously stuff like Tigatron, the alternate heads were always the repaints. So it's like Waspinator had the mutant head, Buzzsaw would have the normal head. Like Black Arachnia had the normal head, Tarantulas had the mutant head. So
Right.
I think again the only exception to the rule was Cheetor and Tigatron, where Tigatron didn't get the Greedo head, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
His box art did though. His box art had
Yeah, I
it.
remember that.
The box
His
art
tongue
had
was
some-
out and everything like that.
Yeah,
Looked
gnarly
like a
looking.
mosquito head. That's what I always thought about it.
Yeah, it's true. It kind of looks like that too. But yeah, I would love that because then we would have a Waspinator and then we have a Waspinator with the alternate head. So that'd be really cool for sure. Hey JawzD, what is your first third-party Transformer product you ever bought?
Oh, I think it was that
Trying to think. Yeah, what
the one that I talked about. I think what's her name?
The Nightbird?
I think it could have been the Nightbird.
Not the best way to start, I guess.
Yeah. I think it was the Nightbird, but then I remember seeing the add-on armor for Rodimus and the add-on armor
Protector. Protector and City
for,
Commander. Yeah.
City Commander, and I was like, oh, those are really cool. So I got those. But yeah, I think
Pretty much the
I think
beginning
in
of
that
third
order.
party in a lot of ways, like those guys.
I think it was definitely the Nightbird would have been my first.
Probably. That sounds about right. Because like the
So I think it
Nightbird,
was the Nightbird and then those other two that I just mentioned.
because the Nightbird came out in 2010 and 2009 was like City Commander. I think Protector came out in 2011. So yeah, sounds about right. Makes
And then
sense.
subsequent years, I got like the actual figures that went along with them.
Someone asked here, Ari Nut asks, anything you would like to see in Generation Selects for next year? Generation Selects, for people who don't know, is kind of Hasbro's way of doing the weird stuff now that we don't have BotCon, and doing it on their web exclusive stuff. There's
Does
a
it
lot.
have to be new, or could they do another run of
Well,
something?
pretty much it would have to be like the way that Generation Selects does things in general is it's always been pre-existing recent molds that have been repainted into something else, kind of like BotCon. And like, to give an example, like they just recently did the Siege Megatron as G2 Megatron. They
Right.
did. They took one of the cone heads and did Sandstorm, which was an unreleased G2 concept. Like they always do kind of the off the wall stuff, and sometimes the stuff that doesn't make sense for retail. And man, so like let's see, like
Because I would have said that Beast Wars Megatron using the mold of Megatron from RID 2001.
oh geez.
I would have said just redo that again.
Reissue it again. I don't even know
Reissue
if the I guess what was that? That was like almost like a leader class. If the leader class budget would handle that today, because now the budget for Transformers is so different now. But for me, like obviously, like we'd have to go with something sort like if it's next year, it's going to be Kingdom. If it's Kingdom, that means that it's Beast Wars molds. I mean, I'm going to go for the obvious, like Cheetor into Black Panther. Black. Yeah, it was called Shadow Panther. Excuse me. Cheetor into Shadow Panther. Rat Trap into Pack Rat. Like all those really obvious repaints. Like you take Optimus Prime molds, Rasta Prime from Universe 1.0. Like all those really easy repaints that people would identify with because they existed at some point or another. East Sea says, I can't be the only one that's excited for getting Huffer and Pipes in Kingdom. No, I'm happy about that too. And considering that the rumor is that they're going to be deluxes is very interesting. Considering that they're supposed to be mini bots, but to get them in a deluxe price point, that's very fascinating. So that means it'll have way more detail than what we've been used to up to this point. And again, then when you think about it, you got a Huffer and Pipes mold now out there. What do you then repaint it in afterwards? Hey, we might even get, you know, Erector, Shafter repaint. Who knows? Might be interesting to see, well, what's, you know, one thing you have to remember, when a toy comes out, you can get excited, but then you have to think about like the butterfly effect that happens afterwards of what they're going to do with that mold in the long run.
Yeah.
Some molds get repainted like 5-6 times, so you know it's not even just the one repaint. See here, someone said like Burning Convoy, which is the red Optimus Primal repaint. You know, like the clear one. Like again, like there's so many ideas that could be done easily. Any thoughts on the fossilizers for next year? So the fossilizers, from what has been rumored, we still haven't seen anything yet, is it's going to be replacing that Battle Master, you know, Target Master price point that we have right now with Siege and Earthrise. And from what we've seen online and what has been rumored, it's going to be dinosaur characters that are like bone, kind of like exposed bone armor stuff. And they're going to transform into armor pieces, like a gauntlet or a shield or a chest piece.
Oh, okay. So like a different type of playability kind of thing.
Yeah, it's clearly a play function thing, and
interesting.
Yeah, and so that's the rumor. Like we've seen nothing of it, but there's people that supposedly have seen the product, and it's kind of leaking out there slowly. So, you know, it sounds interesting. It sounds interesting, and it also sounds like they're going to be using a whole bunch of new trademarks for it. Like some of them were like Stomp and Chomp is one of them, which is actually a pre-existing trademark through Grimlock, but they're going to use a whole bunch of new trademarks too. Yeah, Proto Silver said fossilizers are beast weaponizers. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
And it's pretty much like that's the general consensus of what people have been told online, but we just haven't seen anything yet. And even me, like when I talk about it on the podcast, I have to have some kind of thing for a thumbnail. And I've been using, there's this old toy line called Bone Age, like super obscure toy line from the 80s, which was like, it was like dinosaur bone stuff that transforms. And I've been using that for the thumbnail, and people have been going like, what the hell is that? Someone out here, Silver League Network asks, silly question, what color would you go with if you were tasked with making Shattered Glass Beast Wars for the likes of Rat Trap and Cheetor? So Shattered Glass, for people who don't know, is the alternate universe of Transformers where good is bad and bad is good. And so it would be the heroic Predacons versus the evil Maximals. So what color schemes would you use for Rat Trap and Cheetor for their Shattered Glass versions? Wendell? I actually have one. I know one for sure. That'd be a
Cheetor.
Cheetor, I know for sure. Rat Trap would be the tougher one, but Rat Trap I actually kind of have an idea too.
Like if you were to say personalities, I would be able to figure that out. I'd be like, boom, but like color schemes.
I'll say mine. So like usually I find with Shattered Glass they like to do stuff that's, oh hey, remember this old color scheme? Now this is a Shattered Glass color scheme. So for Cheetor actually had this toy. Aaron might know the story with this. Aaron remembers Bone Age. Nice. Aaron might remember this. There was a Cheetor toy that was, I think it was called the Halloween Horicons, and it was supposed to come out, and it was a repaint of Cheetor, like with like gray and like yellow, very weird colors, and it never got released ever. And so I could see making Shattered Glass Cheetor that Halloween Horicon colors. For the Rat Trap, I would just go with like Beast Machines green, like give it like a weird Beast Machines green thing, and that would be pretty cool. And people would be like, hey, it's Shattered Glass Cheetor, but it's also technically Halloween Horicon Cheetor. So people would dig that. Like two toys in one that kind of appeal to two different markets, even if you don't like Shattered Glass. Go with it. Okay. And then after that, we have I'll just say we have a super chat from Joseph Ritter, who says, JawzD lives. I thought his girlfriend locked him in his basement.
No. She's actually super chill.
A lot of people.
I recently on my Twitter I posted up that I put together was it Iron Factory Bruticus. So when I showed it to her, she's like, "Oh, that's what that does?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and she's like really interested in it and thought it was pretty cool. And nothing happened with Abominus, Power of the Primes Abominus, where I showed it to her and she's like, oh wow, okay.
And people have been liking those posts too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I finally got a chance to like mess around with them. So I really dug what I got.
So the shattered glass question. Back to that.
Right. So I guess I'll take it from, let's see. So Rat Trap is a rat. He's gray. I'll probably make him maybe look like a white lab
rat
kind of thing.
Yeah, it's true. They never did a white repaint, like with red eyes.
Yeah, so I would go in that direction, and I guess instead of brown, you want to contrast that with the white that he has.
You make like a Pinky in the Brain rat trap.
Yeah, like maybe pink. Make him pink on the inside.
Someone even said it too. Necro said it, Pinky in the Brain style.
And then for his do they usually would we talk about transmetals as well?
Yeah, it could be that. It could be a transmetal.
Right, so I guess instead of like his robot blue, still keep the white. The silver would be white. The robot blue, maybe make it, I don't know, maybe red, and then the brown. Make the outside red, make it blue, and then the brown. What would I do with that brown? Maybe gold. Do something gaudy.
Yeah.
And then Cheetor. Let me see here. Cheetor, maybe. Let's see. He'd be all yellow. Maybe make him. Maybe I would inverse the colors on the Cheetor, so like black all over with yellow spots.
A lot of Shattered Glass stuff has been like inverted colors and stuff. So yeah.
So I'm not even original with that.
Yeah, the early Shattered Glass was either they were trying to be cute with some color schemes, like Starscream has Jetfire's colors, stuff like that, and then sometimes they were just inverted colors.
Ooh, or maybe I would make him like a Chester cheetah.
Chester
make
cheetah
it
colors?
Orange. Yeah, make it more orange, more obvious orange.
There's someone online. You can probably Google it. Someone
you would have shades. I would do that.
Exactly. Someone did Masterpiece. Someone did Masterpiece Cheetor, and they photoshopped it into Chester Cheetah. And
I got it. He wouldn't be orange. He'd be like a red orange. So he'd be like Flaming Hot Cheetor.
Flaming Hot Cheetos?
Yeah, so he'd be like a Flaming Hot Cheetor. So he'd be like a more reddish orange.
Your fingers, they're orange.
And he would have shades. Oh god, just make it gaudy. Just make him gaudy.
Airy Nut.
I'm the worst.
Airy Nut wants to know: do you think we'll ever see animated series for Shattered Glass? I remember Derek Wyatt suggested that if there was going to be a season 4 of animated, that they wanted to do one Shattered Glass episode where they would go to that universe, and Derek ended up doing the designs for Shattered Glass, Sorry, and everything like that, and it kind of became canon because we ended up getting art and bios and stuff like that. I forget which BotCon it was. I think it was like 2012. They released these giant posters with all these tech specs of Shattered Glass animated characters. And so it is canon. It does exist. Just a matter of getting figures of it. Well, I would love to get anything new animated figure-wise, but that's a bygone era, unfortunately. Trust me, Derek wants it too. We all do. I mean, I think we're kind of lucky where some of the animated stuff makes it into mainline Transformers. Yeah.
Like Lockdown made it
it gets like reverse engineered in ways where it's like, they end up in other lines in different kinds of like designs, but the general,
a lot of Reveal the Shield stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes the movies.
What was a recent example? I think, because it's like when you think about it this way, like Jazz was never a cyber ninja, and then you have Transformers Animated where he has like nunchucks and stuff, and somehow that aspect of it could find its way into modern versions of those characters and everything.
Yeah.
So it's animated made a big impact in a lot of ways that people don't realize. For Transformers.
Bulkhead in Prime.
Bulkhead especially, yeah.
Bulkhead in Prime.
I don't care what anyone says. Hound in those Michael Bay movies is Bulkhead. That's movie. That's movie Bulkhead. I don't even know. I have no idea. And it had to be a trademarking reason because I have no idea why they would not call it Bulkhead. It had to be like, oh, we're gonna call him Bulkhead, and they're like, yeah, we want to do that, but Hound's gonna expire soon, and we don't plan on doing anything. It's like, oh, damn, he's green. Okay, fine, and that's usually what happens. What was another question someone asked?
Yeah, Generations Lugnut was really good. That was one of my toys of the year. That was definitely my toys of the year.
Yeah, that was we'll forget which year that was. I think that was like the 2017. We did a one of our countdowns. Which, by the way, if you want to see what JawzD looks like, because we don't have the split screen today. We're going to be working on that when all the big V and all this craziness ends. Protoman's going to upgrade his computer, and we're going to have nice little split screen and all kinds of cool stuff and everything. But right now, we don't. But if you want to see what JawzD looks like, go into the live. We have our live archive, and every single one of them that has like top Transformers of that year is me and JawzD together doing something from that. Lego wants to know, can we please see a Ninja Prowl again? I would love to. It was a really cool, different take on the character. It'd be nice to see. I like it when they just try to be different. Like, I think one of the problems that, we spend so many years with so much pop culture going like, oh, we want it to be like the original. We want it to be like the original. And I think Hasbro in general, when it comes to a lot of series, they've been pretty good with that. Like, you look at Cyberverse, and they're staying pretty true to those Generation 1 designs and the Generation 1 characterization, that once in a while, when you get something that's a very different interpretation, you kind of almost appreciate it. I feel that it's easier to get away with that when you also change the design. Like, if you have a character named Grimlock, but he still turns into a T-Rex, but now he's, like, super smart or something, yeah, maybe that won't work. But if you do, like, a Grimlock, but he turns into a different, like, a vehicle or something, then you could get away with it. And I think it was the same thing. Like, if Prowl turned into a police car and had that same Generation 1 design, but he was this stoic, quiet ninja, maybe it wouldn't have went over as well as the fact that he just had this completely different design.
Yeah,
and
he was still a law enforcer. Like, he was still a
police
patrol bike,
motorcycle
patrol bike. So it still kind of kept the essence of that character.
Yeah, totally. Where are we at here? Can we go back to the hair before? I don't want to go back to that hair before. I was getting like a mullet and everything. It was so long. I literally.
Oh, you weren't doing a Dr. Wily kind of thing?
Oh my God! I was waking up and it was in my face. That's how bad it was.
Oh no!
Like, that's when you know you have to. You're in bed and it's in your face. I'm like, I don't want to be that. It's good for some people. It's not good for me. What would you like to see Earthrise Ratchet Ironhide molds be retooled into? Like a Generation Selects. See, someone suggested that. I saw Generation Selects Shatterglass Soundwave would work well for the Ratchet. Yeah, that's one. See, that mold, because it turns into like a van, there's just so many things you could do with that. Even like, Energon tow line being like just a simple, easy one. But there's so many van characters and Transformers you could do, even like Micromaster characters. There was this one called...
I was thinking that.
Yeah, I forget what it was. I think his name was Jump Up or something. There was a Micromaster. They could do a van character. There's a lot of stuff, but also, again, Hasbro is really good now at just taking molds and retooling them so crazily that it just makes a brand new toy. And that's where it's like you can't even sleep on that. Like, you could look at that Ironhide or that Ratchet, and they could retool it like crazy that it could turn into like a Trailbreaker, as crazy as that sounds, even though we have one. But, it's like they could go that far.
I would want them to do something where they creep up to the line and make the A-team van.
Yeah.
They creep super hard up to the line and they call it like BA and then some Cybertronian name or something. I don't know.
BA Barakatron.
Like very, very close. Maybe a little bit more clever than Barakatron. That seems a little bit...
something.
I don't know.
It's too on the nose. It's too
Yeah.
on. I'm trying to think of something. I pity.
Or call it like Mr. E, Mr. Energon.
Mr. E.
I don't know.
Mr. E. Mr. E.
Or like maybe a pun on Clubber Lang, but like Transformers related.
then you're gonna make me see the C team for Cybertron. Someone's
Yeah, there you go.
We have a question here. Do you think we will get a new Transformer characters with the franchise moving forward? We always do. We always do. Even something like you look at like we had Cyberverse, and Cyberverse was primarily pre-existing characters, but we still got characters like Wild Wheel, which was like this like good, the bad, and ugly character like Western stuff. They're always going to put out new people because every series you get one or two of these new characters, and then two of those new characters ended up really resonating with the fans, and they stick around forever. Bulkhead, like we just mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Was it Windblade?
Windblade was the fan character, so that she was kind of like destined for success. But one that surprised me was, and I attribute it, I think, more to the fact because it wasn't that successful in terms of ratings and toy sales. But Robots in Disguise 2.0, the 2015 series, there was a character called Strongarm, a new female character that was created. And she was just kind of just for that series, and we haven't seen anything of her since. So I'm really surprised that one didn't really move forward. Maybe they're just waiting for the trademark to die out, and then they'll do something new with her. But I'd like to see more of her, because, again, there's those new characters. Thunder Howl, like Pat mentioned, that was another new one. Really just kind of a Silverbolt character from Beast Wars, but still new character nonetheless. Kind of like you look at Arachnid, and she's pretty much Black Arachnia, but not,
Yeah.
So,
which I thought that was pretty interesting. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing those two characters, and then they play off each other. Like, they're both trying to do some backstabby, backdoor stuff, but they do it in different ways.
That's what I loved about season 3 of Cyberverse, where like you're having these scenes where here's Bumblebee, Cheetor, and Hot Rod all standing next to each other, talking and having a conversation. You're just going like, whoa, like the three.
What a world we live in.
The three, like kid character, kind of like kid focused character kind of thing, all in one. All you're missing is like Hot Shot, from Armada, and you got them all together in one room. So it'd be cool to have stuff like that where you could see them play off each other. See Thunderhoof from IDW. The RID 2015 series gave us a whole bunch of new characters, and I think because that series just didn't have legs, it just didn't move forward, that I think maybe that's why a lot of that stuff just hasn't been revisited. A lot of it. See, Lego even said just missing Hot Shot in there, of course. But I'm trying to think, look, Kingdom is primarily going to be obviously pre-existing Beast Wars characters peppered with some G1 here and there. But I think that fossilizer line will also give us some new people. In the same way, like when we look at Earthrise is primarily pre-existing Generation 1 characters, but then in that Battle Master class, we get Slitherfang, we get a few new characters too put in there. Sound Barrier, that's another one, really cool one. So we'll definitely see. We'll definitely see what happens with that. Fracture is my favorite con from RID. Yeah, it's pretty cool. What do we have here? Aaron Archer, like Black Lightning and Black Vulcan and Black Racer and Black. Aaron, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like new creations to a show? Black Racer, wasn't that a DC character? I think that was a DC character.
They're all DC.
I know. Black Lightning, Black Vulcan was. Black Lightning was Black Vulcan specifically was from Super Friends.
Yeah, I thought they were the same character, but I guess not. Technically, I thought they couldn't do Black Lightning, so they made him Black Vulcan.
The other way around. I think it was they couldn't do Black Vulcan from like Super Friends did. I don't know which came first. I'm not super well known on DC, but I think Black Vulcan came first in Super Friends, and then they wanted to do Black Vulcan in the comics, but they couldn't use the DC. I mean the Super Friends
because it could have been a Hanna-Barbera thing.
Yeah, so the trademark.
Yeah,
and so they called
remember
him Black Lightning.
He shows up in Harvey Birdman.
Yes. Oh my God.
And definitely that's a Hanna-Barbera thing.
Why don't they just call you Whitefish? Love that show. Anyone who has not seen Harvey Birdman, go out of your way to see it. I know, like, they just recently announced Ventura Brothers is not happening,
Venture
So
Brothers
if you want
season 8, but it seems like they're trying to.
if you
They're
want
gonna
something
try to
in
get
that
it done,
same
but-
in that same vein, that same like spirit, go
Yeah.
watch Harvey Birdman. It's not 100%, but it's
It's in that era of like when they were doing like C Lab
Yeah.
20 something, and so they weren't taking old footage. They were just saying like, you know what, all these characters in the Hanna-Barbera universe, they're all in the same universe, but now most of them are in law for whatever reason.
It's so good. I love that show so much. And the
I
DVD,
have all 3 seasons on DVD,
the
and I love
DVD
how the
box
box
sets
set
are amazing.
they look like they're old books, like they're old law books that have been used and worn and stuff like that.
And the extras are amazing too. The extras are incredible. Anyways, I hope they're not super expensive today. If you could go on Amazon and get them. Is there a beast that hasn't been done that you would like to see in Beast Wars? I think I answered this question once. I said like there wasn't enough sea creatures. And granted, that's probably a mainframe call. They were probably like, well, if we're gonna be doing more sea stuff, you know, that's more money.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously by season 3 we got depth charge and that kind of changed things. But I think back then they were probably like,
you got your king crab and you got your depth charge, you got your sky bite.
yes, Cyber Shark, yeah.
Cyber shark, but yeah, like it wasn't like just do all the fish.
Yeah, well, it's just because like I was surprised that they didn't do more sea creatures and stuff like and I think maybe because it's one of those things where it's like, where do sea creatures fall? Because like Predacons were straight up, it's reptiles, dinosaurs, and bugs. That was Predacons, and Maximals were like everything else. But then when they did the sea creatures, it's like the crab is a Predacon, but the shark is a Maximal, and it's like the squid is a Maximal, but what else was a Predacon that was a sea creature? I'm trying to think.
I
don't know. There wasn't that many. That's the problem.
I know they did a piranha, but the piranha was like a fusor though.
I guess it's true. Yeah, you're right.
It was a fusor. It was like a
Fusor.
wasp and
You're
a piranha.
right. Yeah, you're talking about injector. And it's like, you're right, eh? I don't know. That's maybe because crustaceans. Oh, because it's true. There was Tripredacus Agent had a lobster that was one of the members. Not Tripredacus Agent, Tripredacus the combiner.
Right.
Man,
that's true. The big part of it was
that made his feet and stuff.
And then wasn't there a smaller crustacean as well?
I'm trying to think. I'm just trying to remember. We're on the spot now, trying to think of fish. But yeah, it's that's something that
I would say probably. Did they do a beaver?
No, they didn't. No.
I would say
and
beaver,
make him Canadian as F. You know.
Well, more so than Silverbolt.
I guess. So.
I would say Silverbolt was like the Mountie, like the stereotypical Mountie. You would always like, oh, I have to be honorable and blah blah blah, and you know. But a beaver, moose. Did they ever do a moose?
Never did a moose. No.
And I would say those two. Boom.
Well, you know what? It's one of those things too. You have
wait, one more. A Canadian loon, and you're just a crazy mofo.
The thing is that when you think about it, because with Beast Wars, it's always been rumored, it's never been confirmed that the Beast Wars itself happened in Africa, mostly because of everything that was scanned, and on top of that, the timeline of when it happened.
I didn't think of that. That's really good.
Yeah, and it's something where it's like if they would have, like, you know, scanning a fire ant in Africa for Inferno makes sense. You know, scanning a red-tailed hawk for Air Razor makes sense. It's like all of a sudden then there's a moose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that's where it's like, I think.
But then you have Tigertron, and it's like Pangea. So because all the continents are together.
I see. That's the thing. I think it was already post split apart, but it wasn't like, I don't know. We get like shots of Earth, and it's always kind of ambiguous. It's always kind of like that. It's like, oh, sometimes it's combined, sometimes I don't know. That's why. So it's like a moose. I don't know. Like I'm not a zoologist, but I don't know when mooses came around. You know, I mean, it would be cool.
Well, I mean, toy wise, they had.
Toy
wise, it was all over the place. That's why I'm just going.
Yeah, it's true. You're right. You're right. Because like toy,
I mean, like you have K9,
Ramulus.
And then you have K9 was a wolf.
Yeah.
You know, it was a wolf, and then it was like a German Shepherd.
K9 was a German Shepherd. Wolfang was the wolf.
Yeah.
And then Ramulus, he was a ram. You know, mind you, I could see rams being like Razor Beast. Someone mentioned, which was like a warthog. You know, I love Razor Beast. Such a good figure.
Yes, must get moose and squirrel.
Yeah. Well, we got to
We
fly.
should post up that picture that that Josh did of us.
Oh, that's
Josh
true. Josh
where
Perez.
I'm Rocky, but I'm the Tanuki.
Yeah, you're the Tanuki.
And you're a giraffe.
Heinrad from Beast Wars Neo, and I'm Long Rack from Beast Wars Neo. I think he did another one too. He drew my sister in another one too. Platypus Transformer. Yeah, there's like that's the sad thing is that Beast Wars like it.
Oh, that would have been the Platypus Transformer would be so cool. It's like not, and you would put not Fusor.
Not Fusor.
Not Fusor.
I don't know. There's a sloth. There's another one. Proper hyena. There's so many. Because proper hyena, because I believe it was the hyena one is Transmetal too. Snarler, I think it was called. I forget his name. Snarler, I think it was, or something. But yeah, there's so many. Like yeah, I see someone mention like Saber-tooth Tiger. You know what I mean? Like Jawbreaker. Thank you. You know, like we never got like a proper Saber-tooth Tiger, even though they had a Saber-tooth Tiger animation model. And yeah, it was used in the Bad Spark. It was one of the episodes. I think Bad Spark was the first appearance of Rampage. Seahorse. Yeah. See, there's so many. There's so many that could have totally been done, and it would have been so cool. Like I would love it, and I know it would never happen, but because Mainframe recently changed their name back to Mainframe. Like they were Rainmaker at one point, and that was really when they were doing all that Barbie stuff. And then after they did that terrible reboot, if you want to call it that, they're now back to being called Rainmaker again. Excuse me, being back to being called. No, they're being back to being called Mainframe again. And I would love it. I would love it just for like old time's sake. Like if Hasbro just like went back to them and said, hey, like let's do, you know, Beast Wars again. I know it would never happen, but it would be something that would just be so serendipitous, you know, like it'd be so incredible.
I think a lot of the people that did Beast Wars at Mainframe,
they moved on. Yeah,
a lot of them have probably moved on. I would hope that the new crop that's there would still have a love for Transformers and would be like, oh, we want to do this, we want to do something really cool.
One of the writers isn't with us anymore. He passed away. You know, a lot of the original animators and stuff are just there. They've moved on to other jobs. It's something where, I mean, the only thing that we can guarantee is definitely the voice cast would get back together. You know, it'd be pretty easy to get Scott McNeil, Gary Chalk, David Kay, you know, like the whole crew all into one room again. You know, Blue Man Kuma, all of them. That'd be easy to do. Like you could get all those voice actors back for sure, but it's just the animating itself would be difficult. And it's just like I don't. It's just me personally. I feel that CG today for television is so budget. It's so budget today. Like, you know, we look at Beast Wars, which was made like 25 years ago, and which is crazy when you think about it. Might as well be a lifetime ago, you know.
Yeah.
But like you think about like 25 years ago. Think about like when G1 came out, right? When G1 came out, and then how animation was back then in the 80s. And then think about what was 25 years ago from that point. It was like 1965. You know, Warner Brothers was like probably the peak of that outside of Disney doing their rotoscope kind of stuff that they were animating. But
you would probably have Hanna-Barbera, and then
Hanna-Barbera is the bottom of
and then
quality.
What was the company that was doing Rocky, Bullwinkle, Dudley Do-Right?
Oh God, I don't know. I do not know.
You know what I mean? Like you would have those guys, I think, in there.
But that's why, like, think about like, you know, so it's
Filmation,
like, so here's Beast Wars.
Maybe.
You know, I look at Beast Wars.
Rankin Bass. You would have Rankin Bass.
Yeah, it's true. It might be them. Beast Wars. You know, I look at their CG and then I look at all the junk that's on Netflix right now that they just pump out that's CG, and it's just it looks terrible in comparison to even Beast Wars. Beast Wars, and even more so, its sister show Shadow Raiders, which is Shadow Raiders is art, and it's just I don't know. I would want it to be mainframe just because.
Which is interesting because I feel like those shows, I don't know, like mainframe always try to make sure the series looked lived in. There was characters walking around in the background, even though maybe they were always the same type of character. Like they kind of cheated out a little bit. Like in Reboot, it was always the ones and zeros, little binomes. So like, but then later on, some of them got personalities, or very specific ones got personalities. Shadow Raiders, they would specifically deal with
World
armies.
building.
So you just had the shock troops. Everyone looked the same. So like you could cheat out here and there.
Shadow Raiders was good though because there were so many environments. That's where like they really knew how to mainframe. Like the one thing that they were really good at, they were good at camera composition, where they were really good at like giving you angles that didn't show how aged the CG really was. Like the reality is you could watch an amazing Beast Wars episode, and then if they do a wide shot where you're seeing walking animations, like a character walking across a surface, all of a sudden then you notice just how aged it is. Like them touching the ground and just walking is a problem. But if they do something like kneecaps up or waist up, you don't notice it. And it's just they Ninjatron
Weirdos.
Ninjatron says what up.
What's up, Ninjatron? Oh man, someone brought up Weirdos. That was good too.
Weirdos was mainframe pretty much experimenting, going like, all
let's
right,
let's do a legit cartoon and make weird looking characters. Let's do it.
Let's do a like what's it called there? What the mask was based on? No, what the mask was based on. Oh my god. With the wolf. Oh my god. Forgetting the name. Someone's gonna jump in there.
Specific mythology?
No, it was an animation back in the day. Oh my god. Tex Avery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like they were trying to do like that Tex Avery kind of storytelling and writing style and everything. Weirdos was based on some kind of model kit line. What? What kind of, is that true? Because that show was, I don't know. That was a show that I saw the first episode and I'm like, well, it looks like Mainframe's gonna have their first failure on their hands, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, here's Reboot, success, Beast Wars, success, Shadow Raiders, success, and then Weirdos, and we're like, ooh, here we go. This is where they're gonna take a bath, you know? But it was what it was. It was what it was. It was interesting. I think, you know, if anything, we probably got some animation models out of it that they probably used later on. Because I know that in Shadow Raiders, a lot of Beast Wars models got used as background stuff in episodes, specifically on Planet Bone. I remember people were pointing out how, like, you know, you'd see like an animation model of Cheetor, but like it was turned into a statue and just put into the background, and you're not really supposed to notice, but it's there just for ambience. It's like they just painted like Cheetor's, you know, body, like his cheetah mode, all gray. Like they'll do stuff like that. What platformer like would a platformer like Botanica work? Well, let me refer you to a line called BotBots, which has almost only platformers. Looking at it right now, Venus Flytrap, a fern, you know, a moss rock. Like if you want platformers, I think I said it in a previous stream. Like we've never gotten a Botanica figure. And if BotBots wants to have their first ever original, like pre-existing character, because all of BotBots characters are original characters, have Botanica make her debut as like a chase. Imagine if like the blind packed BotBots and Botanica's the chase figure,
and watch the fandom go nuts.
Everyone,
give me that Botanica.
And then the fandom runs blood red. She'll be like 1 per 3 cases or something. They'll do something like that.
We'll run red, Hogan.
Yeah.
In the toy aisle.
In the toy
aisle.
Do you think we could get a repaint of MP Starscream version 3 of Sunstorm? I think we're gonna get all the colors. It's not a matter
the colors of the rainbow.
It's not a matter of if we will get it, it's when we will get it. We got Sunstorm in America, we got Sunstorm with the version 2.0 Starscream mold, if you want to call it that, which actually had King Sunstorm because it came with all the King Starscream stuff. Trust me, it's going to happen for sure. It, like I said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Every single Seeker mold that I could think of in general somehow finds its way of getting a yellow repaint. It just does.
Definitely Tristan McDonald. Seekers, taste the rainbow.
Taste the rainbow. Everything, every color you could imagine has been turned, and not even with Cyberverse. Cyberverse introduced a whole bunch of new names and colors too. So it's just a given. Why is Nitro Convoy one of your favorite characters? Because I love racing, and Nitro Convoy was an incredible racing character. I wish I could pull over. I got my Mint in Box Nitro Convoy there. I just when I watched Galaxy Force for the first time, there was a lot of really cool characters. But then when they went to the planet Speedia, which was like, imagine a whole planet that's just race cars. And I was just like, oh my god, that's my planet, you know, like. And then the leader of that planet was Nitro Convoy, which was this speed racer, colored-esque kind of, you know, character, and I just loved that character so much. Same thing, like Hot Rods will always be my number one favorite Transformer character, but like my number 2 and 3 is Nitro Convoy and Road King from Master Force, and Road King 2, race car driver character, Formula One. I just have this, like, I lean more towards Formula One Transformers and race car Transformers. They're just really cool. But, you know, if you ask me, like, what's my top 10, it's going to be littered with Beast Wars characters, and none of those are race car characters. So, but it's just, I really like, you know, characters that like racing stuff and stuff like that. It's just, it's my kryptonite when it comes to that, when it comes to Transformer designs. Like, Blur... Casey Collar did a Blur Spotlight comic for IDW, and it was all about Blur's race like career before the war broke out, and how before the war broke out he was this famous racer and everyone loved him and he was like a celebrity, and then the war broke out and no one knew who he was because that didn't matter anymore. And it was such a great story, and Casey Collar's art was amazing, and I just loved it. Nitro Convoy is the Japanese version of Override. Yes. When they brought over the Japanese version of Galaxy Force to America, and Aaron Archer, I think me and him talked about it on one of our streams, they turned it into a female character called Override, and you can actually tell the difference. Nitro Convoy has a gold face, and Override's toy has an orange face. And I want to believe whoever was the one in charge of coloring at the time, which I want to say was Eric Siebeneller maybe, or I don't know. The orange face was kind of a throwback to Minerva, because when you look at the colors of Nitro Convoy, you could also kind of see Minerva, but Minerva didn't have a gold face; she had an orange face. So they gave it the orange face instead, makes it a female character, kind of works out. But to me, Nitro Convoy, the male race car driver, is super cool. Love that character to death. When they made it female, it actually was kind of confusing because there were some scenes where Nitro Convoy was talking to Lori, which was one of the human characters, and she said something that was like flirtatious to him, and he blushed, right? And when they did the dub version of it, she said something different. She blushed, and like I don't like any of the dubs of the Unicron trilogy personally. I always say watch the subtitled versions. They're more true to the source material. And also, I found all the dubbed versions have animation mistakes or missing stuff. So, do you think we'll get a Kingdom Silverbolt? From what I've heard, we're only going to get season 1 characters. So Transmetals, Fusors. Season 2 characters, even stuff like Transmutate, let's say, probably. And the main reason why I think about that is I think that it's just one of those things where it's like, why give it all away right away? Let's just do season 1 stuff. If it's successful, then we could sell them on season 2 stuff. If it's successful again, then we could sell them on season 3 stuff like Transmetal 2s and all that. You know, like I think that's just the smart thing. That's why I always hate it when like people look at like Masterpiece, and they're always like, "Where's this? Where's that?" It's like, why would they give you everything for free right away when you could just kind of drip drop it slowly over 10, 20 years.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, and that's where then third party comes in and gets your money, but at the same time, like they recently showed today, I don't know if you saw on my Twitter, a third party masterpiece Transmetal Cheetor.
Yeah. Called BMW.
Yeah.
That confused. I was like,
it's actually.
Why would you play with my emotions like that?
It's actually BWM. That's what it is. It's Beast Wars Metals.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But yeah, it looks really good.
They should be careful though. I hope they don't get dinged or anything like that.
It looks really, really, really good, and it's just me going like, Hasbro, man, you got to get on that before other people do, because that's about as good as it's going to get. A lot of those Transmetal toys were already pretty close to show accurate already.
Yeah, exactly.
The second you do those little twists and turns that make him perfect, you got money. And these third-party guys, they have no problem just taking the old mold and just making it better. Someone asks here, is Code of Hero the best Beast Wars episode? Easily.
Yes.
When I talk about best Beast Wars episodes, I put Code of Hero aside because it just wins by default. My second favorite always, and amazingly it's not even a season 2 or season 3 episode, I love Guerrilla Warfare. Guerrilla Warfare was one of those episodes where it showed that Beast Wars was just a completely different TV show compared to other shows. Like, Primal getting shot up by tarantulas like crazy, and then taking his thing and impaling him on the wall, and I'm just going like, oh my god, how did this get past the censors? Like,
they basically made Rambo for kids.
Yeah,
they made Rambo First Blood.
And when you look, like when he's getting shot, like the dings on him kind of like look like they're blood, like scrapes,
Yeah.
So like I was like, man, how are they getting away with this? And then like the whole episode, because he's like raging, you have like Optimus Primal going like, I'll rip all your slagging heads off, I'll smelt you all. Like he was going crazy, like Transformer swearing, like it was such a good episode. And then it all ends with, and I posted it on my Twitter, was that whole episode ends with this like symbolic thing about how they learned something from the flower, and it all comes full circle. And then like it also showed how great Beast Wars animation was, where like I would say you could watch that scene on mute, and you could see all the, like the characters have all this emotion and expression through, and you don't even have to use words. Like, glad to see you back, back home or back to normal. And then he turns around, he goes both, and he smirks, and then he walks out. And then Primal turns towards the flower and he chuckles. Like it's just so well done. And that was just one episode. Like I love that episode. Someone mentioned Possession. That's another great one. Go ahead.
For me, I would say to build a better rat trap. Was that the name of the episode?
Better Mousetrap.
Mousetrap.
Yeah, Better Mousetrap.
I like that because I think that's still in season 1, and you're like, why is this character so annoying? Oh my goodness, he's just complaining all the time, and then he's like, oh no, I'm gonna die, and it's like, oh wait, this is my thing, this is what I do, and it's basic. Again, if I had to describe that episode to somebody, I would say it is Die Hard but with Rat Trap.
And also, a lot of people say that was the episode where he went from like being a coward to like having responsibility for stuff. Where like the early episodes of Beast Wars season 1, he's always questioning Optimus Primal. Questioning Optimus Primal.
If I had to make a anime comparison, he's basically Shikamaru. He's the guy that's lazy, he doesn't want to do anything because he just. But then when the chips are down and he has to do something, like he's pretty up there.
And that's why, and that was like a turning point. That was like such a turning point. And, to get Sentinel online and everything and fix things up, like that was a really good episode. Someone mentioned Possession. Possession was, that was the gel that confirmed that Beast Wars was part of G1's continuity. I remember the leaks when they were talking about it on ATT, like, oh, there's going to be an episode where the Ghost of Starscream's in it. And I remember telling it to my classmates in grade 8 in high school, and they were going like, man, you crazy. That's not happening. Because I was like, oh, G1 Starscream's going to be in it. And, it sounded so crazy, that idea. And it was just like, no, it's going to happen. You'll see. And then, like, I remember watching it, and then my phone ringing, like literally 5 seconds. Oh my God, what the, like, they mentioned Unicron. You saw Unicron, like Hasta la Vista, Starscream with the shades. Like, that was a really good episode. Again, another important episode to Beast Wars because it created that bond, that link between everything that has come before. When up to that point, it was like, oh, the Great War. But what was the Great War? No mention. That was the first time the word Autobot was mentioned. It was the first time the word, Decepticon was mentioned. It was the first time they talked about, Galvatron or any of that pre-existing war. We saw Unicron. So all of that stuff that just brought another great episode that Silver League mentioned, the Spark, which was the first appearance of Airazor. How important is that episode to Transformers? Practically everything. Establishing the science fiction, the Transformers, that they have sparks. Prior to...
Basically their souls.
Yeah, well, prior to, like, in Generation 1, there was this vague mention of laser cores, right? Which is like, that was supposed to be their soul or something. But it was very vaguely mentioned, never really was physically seen. And then when you watch other episodes of G1, it's like, people's heads are ripped off and everything's fine. And, like, everything's stored in the head, perhaps. Or, some characters, their personality could be put on a chip and then transferred into something else. There was so many different interpretations. Let's not even get into the Marvel Simon Furman run of the G1 comics and how they handled that, where it was all memory chips and stuff like that too. But the Spark really established this thing that it's the soul of Transformers, and really, if the Spark is extinguished, that's it. That's what really takes you out. There's so many. I could go on and on. Like the Agenda 3-parter. Other voices, other visits. Someone mentioned here Dark Voyage, which was like a really good episode of Rhinox, and how they could just tell a whole story with that. There's so many, even like episodes like The Low Road, which was like the giant comedy episode with farting Rhinox and Rat Trap and Dino.
That did it. Let's go, guys.
Yeah, and Dinobot and Rat Trap just yelling at each other the whole episode. Was still a great episode, still a funny episode, and everything going on. Law of the Jungle, another great one. That was another one. That was one where it showed, that was the first time I noticed, and I think it was like the first time it happened, where whenever Cheetor and Tigatron are in the same scene together, they never have the same weapon. And I don't know, it was something they did on purpose, where it's like, if Cheetor's going to have the gut gun, Tigatron's going to have the tail gun. If Tigatron has the gut gun, Cheetor's going to have the tail gun. I think I first noticed that with Law of the Jungle. And Law of the Jungle also gave us, Black Sassy Woman, Optimus Primal, and Dinobot going like, if you look carefully in the background, there's a scene where Tigatron is dressing down Inferno about, you were going to leave nature alone, and you just see Dinobot and Optimus Primal in beast mode just going like, oh no you didn't, like, look what you did. So there's a lot of funny. I love Beast Wars. Beast Wars is so good. Like, I can't stress it enough. Like, people always go like, people always think was Beast Wars like your first Transformers series? Like, is that why you love it so much? I'm like, no man, like, I was raised on G1, but it's just the 90s just had so many amazing cartoons. Like, it's not like Beast Wars is one thing, but when you're talking X-Men,
they really treated kids like,
they weren't idiots.
Not like they're dumb.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, we think you can handle this. I mean,
well, it's I always say it started with Batman the Animated Series. That came out, and they said it showed them like, hey, we could write dark stories that ages 13 and up could enjoy, and still sell hundreds of action figures. Like, it didn't make a difference. And those dark stories didn't even have to feature those action figures. Like, you didn't have to have, like, Deep Dive Batman or Arctic Attack Batman.
Most of those toys never appeared on the show.
Yeah, exactly. But yet millions.
The majority of those toys.
Millions
Batman
were sold.
never came up in any yellow, orange, red suits, burgundy, whatever.
Aaron Archer's probably listening. Aaron Archer's probably listening right now, going like, I wish I was here right now to talk. But no, it's just it's something where it's like Batman the Animated Series really was like the prototype where they're like, look, you could do this. And then the X-Men cartoon came out, and the X-Men cartoon, if the Batman series was a dark 13 plus written story that kids could watch and they could still sell toys, X-Men was the soap opera that was like previously on X-Men.
Okay, so we're gonna go back to Magneto. Oh, we have to catch you up with what happened with Magneto.
Literally, non-episodic, like long ongoing story.
Didn't someone make a YouTube clip where it says previously on X-Men, and they're just recapping everything?
Well, that's just it. And so, like, X-Men,
and it's like a 30-minute recap.
Well, X-Men, I remember Fox was talking about how like they were even able to take episodes and play it on primetime TV, like in the evenings, and they got crazy ratings. And it was Hi Protoman, did you just get a haircut? Yes, I did. People are noticing now. It was really bad last week, JawzD. Wendell. It was really bad. It was like 1992 Protoman, like mullet. It was getting really bad. It was getting like I got to pull out old photos and just go like, that's how bad. It's the longest.
I could see it.
Yeah.
Jagger hair.
Yeah, Jagger. Thank you.
Jagger
Yeah, it was getting real bad. It was getting really bad. Anyways, go back to what I was saying, but it's like, X-Men came around and then showed this episodic storytelling, and then you had like all these like retailers that were like, we need X-Men toys, KB Toys, we want exclusives and everything. So it was telling all these companies, like, you could tell a good story and kids are still going to buy the toys. And like, I think like Avi Averad, I think his name was, he was with Toy Biz. Like he was really kind of like this, he was ahead of his time.
I was just watching Toy Galaxy today and his name came up.
Yeah, they were talking about King Arthur. Yeah, they were talking about King Arthur and the Knights of Justice. That man, like they mentioned in Toy Galaxy, Bots Master, King Arthur, Knights of Justice, but that doesn't even scratch the surface of what he's done. You know what I mean?
But that's what I think they've done so far. But they did mention like, yeah, he's done quite.
The reason why they mentioned only those two was because he also worked with Jean Chopin, which worked on those two series too, who was a French writer, and who did Bots Master and King Arthur, and I love both of those series. For anyone that knows me well, I'm ridiculously obsessed with those. We got a French guy here. Someone from Quebec. J'arrive. Salut Proto. J'espère tu vas. I'm so bad. J'espère tu vas bien. Hi everyone. Hope everyone is well. What was I going to say? But yeah, so like, there's so much good stuff that was coming in the 90s that then when Reboot came around, and Reboot, man, if you didn't know computers, like, whew. And you're talking.
I love watching it now, and I'm like, I know what you're talking about.
Exactly. You watch Reboot like in '94, and like I don't know how anyone who didn't own a computer knew what the hell they were talking about. And then now you go back and you're like, okay, I get it now. I got it. And it's like, but back then, like Reboot was the same thing. They were really writing. Reboot was like that, and X-Men were the first shows that my dad went out of his way to watch. Like I remember.
Yeah, same with one of my best friends' dad. He would sit down and watch Gargoyles with us.
Gargoyles was another
X-Men.
One too. Yeah, that
X-Men
one too.
With us,
there was just look at Gargoyles. Yeah. Everything that's happening in the 90s, right? All this successful, well-written stuff in the 90s that's selling toys. Here's Disney Afternoon, that up to this point was DuckTales, Rescue Rangers,
Goof Troop, Gummy Bears.
Well, I'm gonna go in order. So DuckTales, Rescue Rangers, what do you call it? Tailspin. Then we had Darkwing Duck, which was them playing a little bit with, we're gonna go this route, but not 100%.
It's Batman, but not.
But
Batman,
not.
But silly.
And then they did Goof Troop, Bonkers, and then they did Aladdin for a bit, and then here's Gargoyles. And Gargoyles was like, oh, here you go, super dark story. People like the first episode implied that everyone died. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
The first episode, all the Gargoyles, like literally episode 1. Yeah, everyone's dead. Everyone's dead.
Oh, Gray Fox 00700. Yes, Exo Squad. Definitely written for a mature audience.
Oh, yeah. No, and you could go on and on. Like, look, a lot of the stuff that Marvel was doing at the time, same thing with Spider-Man and the ongoing story with that, with relationships and Peter Parker and depression. The Silver Surfer series by Fox was also really good. There was so much, so much. Even the Tick. The Tick, as zany as the Tick was, there's such an underlying adult written show there. And Weirdos and all the jokes from Animaniacs.
Oh,
yeah, that went under the radar.
I love how they explain how they wrote for Animaniacs. Basically, and I think a few other shows did this too, where they'll have a terrible, horrible joke that the censors will be like, no, you can't do that. And then they'll have the joke they actually want to say after that. And like, yeah, you could write that one.
It's like it was
whatever
like
they wrote was way worse.
They distract. Yeah. But yeah, it's just like, so that's why I think Beast Wars was so good. What are you gonna say? Sorry.
I was gonna say Cow and Chicken, but I
Cow
don't
and
want to
Chicken.
go
Yeah,
down
that's another
more road. I don't want to go down.
Cow and Chicken is more, I want to say late 90s.
That was the
early 2000s.
renaissance of Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah.
Where they were doing Dexter's Lab and Powerpuff Girls, cartoon.
Yeah, that's
and
more
all
late
that.
90s. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to go down that road.
But that's why. And so by the time Beast Wars came around, Mainframe had already had 2 seasons of reboot under their belt, and they were just like, we know what to do. Like, we know what we could write here. And those, like I always say, those first like 3 episodes of Beast Wars, they're kind of finding their footing. They're clearly like, we got to sell the toys. So we got to sell the toys. We got to sell the gimmick of the maximize, and everyone has to say their name. And really focus on that. But then after they got the ball rolling, they just did whatever they wanted as a storytelling standpoint. And that's when the series just exploded. And it became the number-selling boys' toy line in 1998. It beat the N64, which up to that point, number one selling boys' toys were always video games. Ever since, I think it was 1987, when the Nintendo Entertainment System really caught its stride. And Beast Wars just became a household name, where for years Transformers just wasn't that. It just wasn't that. It was, prior to Beast Wars, the big, I guess we'll call it pop culture boom of toys was probably, I'd want to say, Power Rangers at that point.
Okay.
Like Power Rangers was the last really big thing that was the hot selling item with kids. And prior to that, again, it was
Ninja Turtles, probably.
It was Ninja Turtles, yeah, Ninja Turtles. And so, but Beast Wars came around and became that, at least for a brief moment. And then, of course, the following year, Pokemon would come out, and that would change everything. But it's just, it was nuts, man. It was nuts, and that's why. So Beast Wars was made by a Canadian animation studio. Would you say that it has anything to do with leaning towards monkey? What do you mean by that, Necro? Pogs. Pogs were another thing that I took a photo. I think I posted it on Twitter. I'm not too sure if I posted it. I remember I took a photo of it. I was reading an old Beckett magazine, which is like a card speculators magazine. And I found an old article from like 1993 talking about how Pog is already dead. And they were going like, oh, Pog was never going to survive. It'll never be as good as a sports card, and of course the sports card industry would die the following year too. But yeah, Pog. Oh my God, there's something that like burned. Remember Alf? He's back
in Pog form. So Necro said Truck versus Monkey.
Oh, like Truck Brian Kilby. Good old
Monkey.
Good old RF.
I remember when Optimus Prime was an Autobot.
I remember
save people.
I remember when Optimus Prime was a hero. He used to save people. Now he's a stupid monkey.
Oh, so good.
I don't even know if that's still kicking around.
I would hope so.
I would. Brian must have it somewhere. So the Truck Not. You know what? The Truck Not Monkey was the same thing that has always happened with Transformers. Something new comes out, people instantly reject it because it's different, and then they end up loving it. And it's the same thing, like people, like they just expected that Primal should be a truck, and it's just like, I in all honesty, while if Mainframe would have done a G1 series, it would have looked spectacular. I think Beast Wars was just the way to go, because you're coming off of G2. G2 did not sell, it didn't make money, and they just needed to do something different. And by it being with Kenner instead of Hasbro, And having, because you're with Kenner, now you don't have Hasbro's like dudes looking down on you and micromanaging everything. I think they were able to get away with more, and that's what made Beast Wars so great. Where if it wasn't the case, if it was with Hasbro, I get a feeling they probably would have made it a 2D animation, and they probably would have micromanaged it like crazy and made sure, because it's 2D animation, every character shows up. So Razor Beast would have been there in every toy, and then there wouldn't be his character development as much. Who knows?
But I kind of wonder if maybe the one thing that was good about G2 was all the CG in the commercials.
Oh yeah.
And then we're like, hey, these commercials are doing really well.
Gary
did a whole show
Gary
based off of these?
Gary Chalk's first Transformer voice acting role was the G2 commercials. Go back and watch the G2 commercials. Listen to that name, especially the laser rods and the what's the other ones? The Rotor Force. It's Gary Chalk. It's literally Gary Chalk, like Optimus Primal. It's pretty crazy. It's funny too, because when I got him years ago, when I got him to autograph something, I got him the autograph, like it had all his characters on it from Transformers up to that point. I think up to that point it was Energon, and it had one of the members of the Rotor Force there, and he pointed at it, he's like, which one is that one? I'm like, you voiced a commercial, you voiced that character for like one line, and that was your first ever Transformer character, and his name is Auto Jetter. And it was just like, what? It's like, okay. Like, crazy people right here. So, Necro said, Transformer fans in general, in essence, all the same person. We naturally hate ourselves. Nah, I don't know if it's all Transformer fans, but I do feel that a lot of times you have very vocal people. Back in the day, it was ATT, which is the Alt Toys Transformer message boards, or Benson E's message board back in the day. People would just always be very vocal when something was different. But at the same time, when you give something a chance, maybe it still sucks, but sometimes maybe it's really good. Video game #1 selling toys. Hasbro goes, let's do Beast Wars video game. It can't fail. Well, the problem with the Beast Wars video game, the very first one, was it was done by Hasbro Interactive, which up to that point, if you look at their entire library, was really making digital versions of their board games that they had through Milton Bradley. I think it was Milton Bradley.
Parker Brothers.
Yeah, thank you, Parker Brothers. Thank you.
It's one or the other. I know they bought one. I know they were one, and then
whoever owns Monopoly. Like whoever owned Monopoly. Excuse me. So stuff like that. So they were just kind of that was kind of their experience, and then it's like, oh, now we're gonna make first of all, 3D was in its super infancy at that time, which is already that's a whole other bunch of hiccups. Like, if you didn't copy what the N64 was doing with Super Mario, you were pretty much doomed. Now obviously it's not the case, but back then, if you weren't copying Mario 64, you're a Bubsy 64, or excuse me, Bubsy 3D. Which was doomed to fail. But what I'm trying to get at is like, so here was that group of people at Hasbro Interactive expected to do an action 3D game, which has it's called
I think they did tank controls with that.
They did tank controls, and it also suffered heavily from loading fog. You know what I mean? Where like the assets don't load up right away in front of you.
Draw distance.
Draw distance. Thank you.
Draw distance.
So and while it's not make or break, it also didn't have any of the original voice actors, but it was using clips from the show with new voice actors for all the clips from the show. So it's it's someone doing their best David Kaye impression. It's someone doing their best Ian Corlett impression, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
I know somebody recently played it for their channel, and I'm trying to. It's a guy that does retro games, and he does like specific. I think he did it on properties and stuff. And one of them was on Beast Wars.
Maybe
he talked about the original game.
Maybe.
And the original game that always appeared on Animorphs, the TV
show.
God,
yeah.
Because they're trying to cross promote it like crazy.
They were using like a joystick, and someone was playing the Beast Wars game on it
for PlayStation 1.
Yeah, I remember that. And then of course it's I don't remember the sound effects in that episode, but I wouldn't be surprised if it used like Atari sound effects, because anything in pop culture, even in the year 2000, if someone's playing video games, it still sounds like Yar's Revenge or Asteroids, you know. It's like, you know, it's like, oh my god, this isn't Qbert, you know. It's like someone's playing Warcraft, and it's like it still has sound effects from like, you know, Donkey Kong. Have you ever played the G1 TF PlayStation game? I've played every TF game. I did a panel. If you Google, if you go on YouTube, type TFCon video game panel. I did a panel talking about all Transformer video games between the very first one for the Commodore 64 in 1984 up until just before War for Cybertron. So I want to say 2005, 2006, I want to say.
Is that the G1 one for PlayStation 1?
Yeah,
Is that the one you stayed at my place and played the whole game?
Yeah, that's the beat 'em up that was done by Winkysoft. I believe they call it Battle to the Future. That's the official name for it now that they call it. It was called Transformers. It was a beat 'em up G1 game. Wendell got a bootleg back in the day, and I just played it all night.
I stumbled upon it. I was like, "Why is this in English?" But it's a Japanese.
It was always
game.
in
Why
English.
did this never come out here?
Yeah. Transformers Tatakai. Yeah, there you go. But I remember it has like someone called it like Battle to the Future or something. It has a weird name. And I remember just playing that like crazy. Loved that game. Just because you have to understand at the time, you know, we didn't have War for Cybertron yet. So
that would be years later because it's PlayStation 1.
Yeah. I just remember like just obsessed with it. Good game. Voice acting's kind of but interesting story, you know, crossover timeline thing, you know, Back to the Future kind of thing. Rodimus and them go back in time to like 1984 to warn the Autobots about Shockwave, who got this special energy and crazy stuff. And then, of course, Hot Rod almost ruins the entire continuity by warning Prime about his death, but then Prime stops him, you know. Goes like, no, say no more.
I'm not gonna let you ruin this twice, kid.
Yeah. and that it's the only time in Transformers lore that Hot Rod admits that he killed Prime. Like he says, because of me, you know, like, and you're like, oh damn, like he actually admits it. It's like, wow. Voice acting is questionable on a lot of characters. Yeah, but it is what it is. It was okay. Oh, Ultra Primal played it on his channel. Okay, there you go. Check out Ultra Primal's channel. He did Let's Plays of it. So there you go. But what were we talking about before? Oh, but so just like, you know, Beast Wars it is what it is, but it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Story's really good.
I think
I would always tell everyone to, you know, I think a lot of people have a hard time getting past the first season's animation, and you just have to look at it from that time frame where it came, you know, because I mean, other people are like, oh, well, I really like Toy Story 1. It's like, yeah, but that thing
God.
The humans look terrible in that, but it's still a good story.
I firmly believe.
Not watch it. I don't get it.
I firmly believe, especially that Beast Wars Season 1's animation is even way better than Toy Story. Like Toy Story, man, when you see the human characters, oh God, it's like nightmare fuel. You know, like they look terrible, like Andy and Sid. Ugh, terrible. But even then, like I look at Beast Wars, even Season 1, I still feel like people could rag on Season 1's animation, but I really ask them, I go, what are you comparing it to? Because if you're comparing it to Hollywood stuff, okay, yeah, you're right. Compared to what Hollywood's doing right now, it's apples and oranges. But Pac-Man, Mega Man, you know, that was done by Man of Action, the Mega Man cartoon, you know, the recent War for Cybertron Siege, where they had to have like 1 million army builders just to like fill out scenes. I challenge you to like, if you told Mainframe like what did it take for you to make this, as opposed to what these guys are working with today? There's this great behind the scenes footage, and it's I have it on my computer. I don't think anyone's ever uploaded it to Facebook or YouTube. But there used to be this we used to have a chat. I think we still have the channel. We have a channel in Canada called Teletoon, and it's obsessed with Canadian created animation content. And they used to have this show.
I don't think it was that. I don't think it was obsessed. I think they had to because it was just government mandated. You're a Canadian channel. You gotta show that stuff. And okay, fine.
And they had this show. I think it was called Splat, where the whole show was just about talking about how animation is made, and it was always behind the scenes stuff. And they did an episode with Beast Wars, and it's crazy because like you see the computers that they were working on, and these are like 486s. You know what I mean? Like these were big, bulky. You know, not a tower, a sideways. You know, and they would say like, yeah,
Right.
we do encoding, and we'd have to wait like 2 minutes for it to react for each motion. You know, if something crashed, we had to start from scratch. Like it was,
Oh man.
it was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. And you think about what they had to work with back there, and you're just like in 1996, actually probably 95 when they first started doing it. And then you think about like again, it was 26 years ago when they started probably working on Beast Wars. And then you go, yeah, but Avatar, you know, it's like, bro, are you serious? You're gonna use
That's
your
like years later and a lot of money. A lot of money.
19 years later, I think 19, maybe, yeah, 19 years later, and James Cameron's millions of dollars.
James Cameron is sitting on, I think, two of the biggest blockbuster movies at that time. So
And
Terminator 2, oh no, Aliens, Terminator 2, Titanic. They're like, yes, take all the money, do whatever you want.
not to mention, it's like, you know, you could say like, oh, like the argument he gives, well, you know, and it is true, like a lot of mainframe stuff was paid by the Canadian government. They got a grant. They literally got a grant from the government, like a blank check saying like, make stuff. What do you need? We'll pay it, right? And that's why Beast Wars, Shadow Raiders reboot was so good looking for its time, was because here's this company in Canada that had a blank check from the Canadian government to do whatever they wanted. And yeah, you could argue that, but I guarantee, like, you could take the money of the Canadian government, put it against James Cameron, Canadian government's still gonna lose, you know. Yeah. So, like, it's just you can't compare. You can't compare. But and that's why, like, I always tell people when they say, "Oh, Beast Wars animation is dated," I'm like, show me a TV show, an animated TV show today, not like CG used in the background of an episode of Flash from CW or something. Show me a full-fledged kids television show cartoon that's made today or last year that has better CG than Beast Wars season 1, and you won't find it. You won't.
Roly poly yoly.
Yeah.
T-shirt and shirt and round.
But exactly, there was another one. There was this one. It's and it caught my eye because I love pugs. What was it called? It's something the pug. There's like this CG, and again, it looks good, I guess, but it has like 3 character models. You know, it has the pugs, some backgrounds, and that's it.
That was, I'm sorry, that wasn't a dig at Roly Polio. That show's too cute. I love it.
So like it was just this completely different animal that I don't understand how. Like I always tell people, if you could get past the first 5 episodes in terms of the toyetic aspect that's going on of trying to sell product, you're going to become hooked. And anyone who's a Transformer fan that doesn't like Beast Wars, I mean, I don't want to insult you, bro, but you got to get your head checked. You know, like what do you want if Beast Wars is considered bad to you? Like it's transforming robots, it's action, it's heavy metal, it's music, it's great toys.
It connects back to G1.
It connects back to G1.
G1's coming in this show.
And literally the best ensemble voice cast of people ever. You know, like just the legends of not just the Transformer voice acting world, but the voice acting world. Go to any anime convention. Scott Effin McNeil is a legend. You know, we're not even talking Beast Wars. Go to any anime convention. Ian Corlett is a legend. David Kay is a legend. Like these guys, you know, I've gone to Anime North and Otakuthon. When these guys have booths, people aren't there lining up for them for Beast Wars. It's literally everything else, you know. So these guys are legends. These guys, like that whole Beast Wars voice acting crew came from Ocean Group and Viz Video, which was like Rama 1/2 and the early Dragon Ball Z dub and stuff. And those dudes, to this day, like I say it to this day, and it's hilarious because I've never said it to David Kay's face, and we've sat down and had dinner with him many times. And it's like I never said it to David Kay's face, but David Kay is the greatest voice actor of all time, in my opinion. I really do.
No way.
Yeah, I've always felt that. Because he knows character. Like I didn't realize how great he was until he did animated, and he did Optimus Prime. That's what I always loved. Beast Wars Megatron. Then he did animated with Optimus Prime, and I was like, this guy has some talent. Like,
And to think that was, I think what he said was that was kind of out of his comfort zone in the sense of
here's a guy who
he was using more so his normal voice, and he was playing a good guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Here's a guy who did, in my opinion, everyone has their own opinion, the greatest Transformer villain of all time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Thanos. Here's me, who is a huge Jim Starlin Thanos fan, and seeing David Kay's Beast Wars Megatron, and going like, oh my God, that's Thanos' voice. I would read way before we had Infinity War and what's his name, Josh Brolin, who did his voice and stuff. Way before that, I would read Thanos Quest, Infinity Gauntlet, Silver Surfer comics, David Kay's voice. It was David Kay's voice doing Thanos. And I was like, oh my God, like this guy's incredible. Then he does animated. And I'm like, he just did the best best Transformers villain of all time, the best Megatron of all time, in my opinion. And I love Frank Welker. Don't get me wrong. Frank Welker is incredible too. I think Frank Welker is probably one of the best voice actors from G1, bar none. And that includes Peter Cullen, a fellow Montreal boy, you know? So I'm not even going to take sides there. But even that said, then you see him do animated Optimus Prime, and you're like, oh man, this guy's got range. You know, this guy's... And then you look at Scott McNeil. Scott McNeil practically is talking to himself half of these episodes. And you would never know it. You would never know it that this was two separate, like, you know, characters from a single person. Like, he's, like, these dudes were incredible. Sue Blue, who was the original voice of G1RC, who was the voice director, she knew how to get a room together and get people to really, like, knock it out of the park. Like, it's... See, look, Joseph says here, G1 is still better in my humble opinion. Vehicles to me are better than animals. That's an aesthetic. Look, I'm a car mechanic. I obviously am going to like lean towards vehicles. Like if you ask me cool forms, it's going to be cars. I just mentioned Formula One stuff. My favorite Transformers of all time, top 3, all vehicle based stuff. Yes, that's true. Cars are cooler than animals in general. I'm pretty sure a shark is badass in any situation, you know, but, you know, as opposed to say like, you know, a gorilla to a truck or something. But that being said, that's an aesthetic. When you get to storytelling, character development, like I said this so many times in the past on the podcast, but I'm going to say it again. What is Bumblebee's relationship to Cliffjumper in G1? You don't know. What is Cliffjumper's relationship to Ironhide in G1? You don't know. What is Ironhide's relationship to Ratchet in G1? You don't know. What is Ratchet's relationship to, let's throw a rock at the Huffer? You don't know. Every single person in Beast Wars, you can make like a character map. You know how Cheetor is with Dinobot. You know how Cheetor is with Tigatron. You know how Cheetor is with Optimus Prime. You know how Cheetor is with
And also
Rattrap.
the cast for the show is pared down very small, so you can have those interactions with everyone. Same with like the show same with X-Men. X-Men's a big ensemble cast, but again, it's not. You know, maybe every episode you get a new person.
You knew how Wolverine was with and I think that was Beast Wars' biggest thing, is that every character, you watched it and you knew who these characters were. You knew who they were at their core because you saw how they interact with other people. And you know, from the writer's term, like the TV tropes, like you knew how young kid character coming up, potential leader, works with gruff veteran, works with sassy, smarmy, whatever. But you got to see that firsthand, and it was incredible. It was incredible, and every character had that. I think the weakest character, and it's only because she came later in the series, was Airazor. Airazor, you didn't get to see all of those dynamics. She was the only character where you're like, you don't really know how Airazor is with Dinobot. You don't really know how Airazor is with, you know, like with Cheetor, she has like a brother-sister kind of like, you know, there was that one episode where it kind of showed like they were watching out for each other. Like there's little things here and there, but Airazor is probably the weakest, where everyone else, you know, obviously like when you get to the Predacons, like, you know, Inferno's crazy with everybody. So there's certain ones that you don't even have to touch that. But that was the one thing that hurt G1, was character development was severely held back. And granted, yes, they had to sell toys and everything, but it really was the Prime show and whoever was kind of like getting featured that day, you know, and it's always been a bit of an issue. And when you look at like you fast forward to G1 season 3, and it's like there was episodes that didn't even have Rodimus in it. You know what I mean? Like that's how, you know, here's your new leader and he's not even in some of the episodes. That was like the Ultra Magnus show in a lot of ways. But then of course it changed. It was Flint Dilley who was doing the writing at the time. So Beast Wars had an alternate title called Beasties. Yeah, that's a whole other story. That was in Canada. Or Combat Best. I actually have the French VHS. I found it. I found it at a Value Village, and I was like, gotta have this. But it's just the character development is unrivaled compared to like animation. It's apples and oranges. I think G1 probably had the best animation that they could have had for 1984. I think Beast Wars had the best animation that they possibly could have had for 1996. So I think they're on par when it comes to animation in terms of what was available at the time. Obviously, outside of going into Japanese animation, where it's a little more high budget, but you know, ACOM Studios with season 3 and Toei and Tokyo Studio Susha, I think it was called, for season 1 and 2. You know, and of course Sunbow with their Korean in-betweeners. Probably the best that could have been at the time for 1984. You know, there's animation errors in it, can't be helped, especially the first couple of episodes of G1 season 1. But I think they're equal in animation in terms of what was available at the time. But man, like the sad thing is I watch G.I. Joe, 1982 G.I. Joe, and it had better character development than G1. It was better. Like and I'm not a big G.I. Joe guy. I'm just going like it was better. Or Gem and the Holograms. Granted, smaller cast, but better character development. G1 really was, you know, and that's why like when I try to show people G1, I show them the 86 movie. Because the 86 movie had character development. The 86 movie, you go, oh, here's Hot Rod how he is with RC. Here's Hot Rod how he is with Cup. Here's Hot Rod how he is with Springer. Here's Hot Rod how he is with, you know, the villains of it and the Dinobots and Blur and da-da-da-da-da. So there was character development there. And that's why I love the 86 movie. I grew up on G1. I saw the 86 movie. I watched season 2 episodes and season 3 episodes. When G2 came out, I got to see all those season 1 episodes that I missed. G1 made up for a huge chunk of my Transformer fandom. But when Beast Wars came around, and here's me coming off of X-Men, like I mentioned before, coming off of Reboot, coming off of Gargoyles, coming off of all these well-written shows. And at the time, when Beast Wars came out, I was 14 years old in high school. I'm a teenager. I want something with a little more meat to it. And it gave me that meat. And then some. Not to mention, Beast Wars gave us ball joints. I mean, late G2 gave us ball joints, but Beast Wars standardized it. And some good stuff. Went a little bit on a rant there, sorry, but
it's the Beast Wars show.
It's not that. It's because I remember, you know, Jeremy from TFCon. Jeremy was like, he's like, I hate Beast Wars, and I like sat down with him at the bar, and I was like trying to deconstruct his head, like, why do you hate it, and why do you think G1's so great if you hate Beast Wars? Like, what is there that garners hate but love there?
Because I mean, again, Beast Wars isn't dumping on G1. It's like,
you'll never hear
good.
Hear like a hardcore Beast Wars fan going like, man, F G1, you know, like, no, we want G1 mixed in, you know, we're like peanut butter, we want chocolate, we want to be a Reese's Piece together, you know, like we could make this magic, but the G1 guys like, man, F that show, you know, like oh god, like Raksha back in the day in the fandom. She went right up. David K talked about it in an interview. That's like on one of the DVD extras. He's like, yeah, Raksha was someone in the female, like in the female part of the fandom, like the early part of the female fandom, and she was very talented woman. But man, did she hate Beast Wars? Man, did she hate Beast Wars? She helped with BotCon early in the days, and she wrote Night Racer, which was one of the first exclusives. You know, she very important to the Transformer world. But man, did she hate Beast Wars. She thought, like, Megatron was a disgrace, and she hated the fact that, like, you know, the Predacons were... She went right up to David K. and just, like, dressed him down how you're a disgrace, you ruined Megatron, And David K does an interview for, I think it's one of the DVD extras. And he's like, yeah, this woman came up to me with a snake around her neck because she had like a snake that was, I think her snake's name was, no joke, unrelated. I think her snake's name was Avatar. I think it was. I think she had a yellow snake named Avatar. So she brought it to the BotCon, and he's like, yeah, some woman. That's how we knew that he was talking about her. And he's like, some woman with a snake came up to me and she told me some really harsh things. So it shows that not everyone likes what you do. And so I guess he was kind of using that as a way to say that not everyone likes, not everyone loves what you do. But he was just like, it stuck with him, Like, good Lord. She likes Beast Wars 2nd. Well, Beast Wars 2nd was fun. Beast Wars 2nd was fun. Beast Wars Neo, I think, is the better of the two. But Beast Wars 2nd is fun because you get to put characters to all those non-show characters from Beast Wars.
Yeah.
G1 has toxic fans in the entire is the most toxic fans in the entire Transform fan. I don't know. I think every generation of fans always has. I always say, and I actually had this discussion. I forget who I was saying this to. I think it was Benson Yee I was talking to. I was always saying that everyone always has 1% of people that are assholes. And it's like, if you're something that's super popular but you only have 100 fans, then one of those fans is an asshole. If you have something that's popular and you have 1,000 fans, then 10 of those fans are assholes. If you have something that's like 10,000 fans or 1 million fans, do you see what I'm saying? Now that asshole number starts growing.
Yeah.
And as I'm making a shape of an asshole here. Bobby Skullface just got out a vid on toxic fandoms. Oh, I gotta talk to Bobby.
Shout out to Bobby Skullface.
You know what's hilarious?
I remember when we first met him at TFCon. He came down to Toronto and showed a lot of love. So I remember when we finally did TFCon USA and he was there, I gave him a lot of love. Every time I see him at any of the TFCons, I always make sure to go straight to him and say hi to him. And very, very awesome dude.
What was crazy was for 2 years, I didn't know that he had a YouTube channel at all, right? And at the same time, I know him without the mask, right? That's who I know him as, right?
Yeah.
I walk by a guy in the hallway at TFCon Toronto wearing the Skullface mask, right? And I'm like, who the fuck is this guy, right? And I thought because remember, like, we do the Sundays, which are the miscellanea days, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going like, oh, maybe it's a Skullomania cosplayer. You know, but he's wearing.
I had to tell you, I was like, no, remember the dude
I didn't even
from
know.
Before, blah, blah, blah. And
I
like,
had
yeah.
no
I'm
idea.
like, that's him.
I had no
like,
idea.
oh, I'm so sorry.
Every time I talked with him, every time I dealt with him in the dealer room, the mask is nowhere to be seen. I guess he waits for when, and by the time the show starts, now we're in our different corners now. And it was just like, I remember seeing that, going like, he was wearing like a bathrobe. And like,
oh yeah, that was a running gag.
And I was just like,
that was a running
so
gag.
It's just me. I'm walking towards the dealer room. It's early in the morning, like we haven't opened up yet, and he just walks by me, right? And he's just in the mask, and I was just like, what is this? And having talked to him multiple times at this point, having no clue at all. And
I remember a terrible thing I did was he would always offer to buy me a drink, and I would always be busy with the con and never be able to
cash that check,
take him up on him. And so finally, I think one of the Chicago cons, I finally took him up on it, and we took a picture, we put it on Twitter and everything. He's like, this guy's been ducking me for 10 years. He finally took a drink with me. And I was like, oh no.
Well, because it's like the first time that I met Bobby was him and his, I guess it was his wife at the time or girlfriend. This was years ago. She was doing art, like blanket art and stuff, and they needed like a good space, and tables are already sold. And I was like, don't worry, 1 second. I got him some extra tables so they could have like a nice corner, right? And I hooked him up and everything's like, oh, thank you so much. And he gave me a shout out on Twitter. Had no idea who he was. I was just helping somebody.
I think that's his art.
Is it his art? Okay,
that's his. That's
I didn't
his
know.
Art. He draws all that stuff.
And I was just helping out a dealer. Just like I want people to have good tables so the space looks better. You know what I mean? And when you have art, you want to have as much surface area as possible to show all your stuff. It's like what I do with Azusa. You know what I mean? I get Azusa like 3 extra tables, and I'll be like, don't worry, we're gonna have a nice display. You'll make a lot of money. But yeah, he makes art on those blankets. That's some. I remember like he had the blankets was the thing that I remembered. He had like a whole bunch of them, and And then like he gave me a shout out and stuff, and I had no idea who he was. He was just, oh, it's one of the art dealers selling.
Mhm.
Then the following year, helped him out again. Hey, how you doing? You know, like, you know, then you start remembering faces. And then the mask thing happened, had no clue. Fast forward, and then I think it was like one of his, I think it's called his sit down Saturdays that he does or something.
Yeah.
Which is, and then I was like, that's the same guy? And I felt like such a jackass. Because here's me going like, look at this guy. Look at this guy at 8 a.m. in the morning. He's cosplaying, you know, in a bath. Like I felt like he just got out of the shower from the hotel room and he's wearing his cosplay mask. Because you see weird people like that all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've had.
But no, that was a running gag he had, because I think he would do to sit down Saturdays. He'd be in the robe, and I don't think he does that anymore. But that was the this is how people know him, as they say.
Well, yeah, it's
how they know you.
It's your trademark. You know what I mean? Your look. And I mean, hey, if it works for him, it works for him. You know, I'm glad that, you know, he has an audience and stuff. Like, I had no.
A lot of good stuff. I finally got around to watching his Make Toys retrospective. And I was like, memories. Well, look at that good toy. Look at that good toy.
It sucks because, like, I just, like, you know me, like, I don't have time for movies. Like, to sit down for 2 hours and watch a movie, like, I'm like, I just saw Roadhouse recently. We'll talk about it off the air.
You've never seen Roadhouse?
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
That's why we'll talk about it off the air. We'll talk about it off the air. But, see, but that's what I'm talking about. Thank you. So yeah. So
I hate you.
Thank you. But that's why. So when people come up to me going like, "Hey, have you seen Chris McFeely's videos? Have you seen Bobby Skullface's video? Have you seen it? Do you watch this guy? Do you watch that?" I'm like, "Bro, I watch nothing. I come home, I do the podcast, I belt that out there, and then I go to my life, and then I once in a while, you know, put out picture of the day or something like that. I wish I had all the time in the world to like just sit down. I listen to my own. I have podcasts that I listen to, but it's something not visual. Like I love wrestling podcasts, so it's something I could put it on an iPad. I could blast the volume. I would literally, no joke. Sometime the only time I have to listen to podcasts is I'll mow the lawn, I get sweaty, I go to shower, and when I'm showering, I put on a podcast. Like, that's literally, like, the only time I have is, like, when I'm in the shower or something like that.
I think East C has a question. They posted up twice.
What was the question? I'd love to see a Marvel... where could you read it? Oh.
I would love to see a Marvel Comics color Soundwave figure.
Oh, the purple wave.
Maybe paint the mouth over the mask like
the common error. You know what? I'm surprised we never got that repaint. Because we got, like, you know, comic book colored Grimlock through Masterpiece of all things. We got, you know, ACOM Studios colored Hot Rod through Masterpiece. I'm sure one day they'll do it. You know, Soundwave, it's like he's one of those things, you paint him black, you paint him white, like for the shattered glass, and you could do a purple repaint. But it would have to be something that's very, like, it wouldn't be a retail thing. It would be like, that's something I could see, like, the Collector Club or Bakon would have done, or, like, now with Generation Selects. That's something I could see being done. But, yeah. JawzD, when you walk by your collection, do you ever stop and think to yourself, I'm proud of this, and feel a sense of pride?
Oh. Sad to say my collection isn't up. It's still in boxes.
He moved.
And I have an idea of how I want to display it, but I am pretty happy with what I have, and I enjoy everything.
He's a lot more selective.
My favorite is I used to have it all displayed, or most of it what was displayed, and a friend of mine brought a female friend over, and she looked at the whole collection, and she's like, "Aren't you a little bit oiled to be playing with toys?" And I'm like, well, I like them. I like that the engineering behind it. I like that you transform it into a toy. You transform it into a robot, back into a car. The in between is just interesting, and I think it's evolved since I was a kid. So that's why I still collect them. And so I went out of my room, and she's still in the room, and then she takes animated Blur from the shelf. I come back, and she's trying to transform it, and she can't do it. And I take it from her. I'm like, and I before I take it from her, I tell her, "You're having a little trouble there, but you know the toys, their age is 5 and up, and you're having a little difficulty." And she got upset and put the toy back and ran away. And my friend was in the room, and he looked at me. I took the toy from the half transformed it was. I transform it into a
mode.
car, and I put it back into a robot, and I put it back on the shelf. And prior to that, she asked me, "Do you still remember how to transform everything that's here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do. Like that's why they're all
muscle
here."
memory.
You know, and what was even funnier was my girlfriend, she picked up Rodimus. No, she picked up Hot Rod from, what was the most recent deluxe Hot Rod?
Well, not counting Cyberverse.
Not Cyberverse. Before that,
Titan Returns.
I think it was it Titan Return? What's the one before that? It's not the one where it's Hot Rod and Rodimus.
Animated?
It's the one before that.
Animated.
No. After that.
Power of the Primes, but that's a leader class.
I think it was Power of the Primes.
But that's a leader class, though. That's the one with the trailer.
Okay, so not Power of the Primes, the one before that, I think, where it came with a Target Master. Am I thinking about that right? It's in that era.
I'm looking at the wall. You know, it's not like I own any Hot Rod toys. I don't know.
Is it Titan's Returns? I think it's Titan's Returns.
Well, here's the thing. Are you talking, because like Hot Rods that have come out with Target Masters, you're talking the Masterpiece ones. 2 versions came with Target Masters, both the MP09 and the MP28. Maybe someone else could.
Yeah, it is Titan's Returns Hot Rod.
Thank you. Okay.
So that was out in the open, and my girlfriend transformed it from the robot mode to the car. And I came back, I was like, "Oh crap, that's a really good job." She's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, good job, you did it." That's the fun part, figuring out how to transform it without the instructions.
It's a puzzle play. That's what I keep telling people, like, especially like, you know, when someone like me, like, you know, it's like when they find out afterwards I'm a mechanic, they're like, "Oh, I get it." You know what I mean? Like when you understand the engineering, you know, and you have a real appreciation for that, especially. And what I always like, you know, when people say like, you know, "Oh, like, aren't you too old for that?" Hand them a vehicle mode transformer and go, "If it's for kids, go ahead. Show me how it's done, adult." You know?
Here's a masterpiece. Good luck.
Oh no, I'm not even gonna give him a masterpiece. I'll give him like a simple Cyberverse toy, and like just go ahead. You know what I mean? I almost feel like I could give them a MicroMaster and they're gonna get lost. Like that's how confident I am. They're gonna be like they're gonna get lost at the legs or something. Like it's just a look. And that conversation probably had happened many years ago, because I think today it's more understood and accepted now. Like the geek became.
But for me, it was a little bit insulting, because I don't walk into anybody's room and like, "Why you have all these shoes?
Oh yeah,
why you have all these clothes?" Why would I do that? That's not my place.
That's a whole other argument. That's a whole other story.
That's not my place to go into your house. It's like, "Why you have all these decks for these skateboards?" Like, why would I do that? It's
or vinyl
rude.
Records, you know, or diecast cars.
Why do you have all these DVDs? Are you gonna watch them all?
Exactly.
Do you watch them all?
I always say that, you know, mind you, I'm lucky because I was raised in a toy collector house. Like, you know, when you have your father, who since your earliest memories is buying diecast cars for himself. You know what I mean? He's a diecast card collector, and you just kind of like go, okay, like there's nothing wrong with this. And again, you know it. We went to high school together. We were lucky because we went to a high school that geek culture was cool. You know? Like very pro black high school, but like watching Dragon Ball and Beast Wars was the coolest shit. You know? I remember bringing G1 Starscream to school, and Jason John, who was this guy, used to sit back in class. All he would do is, shout out to Jason John, used to write rap lyrics. That's all he would do all day. Give me a piece of paper, and that's all he would do, just write rap lyrics. And I remember I brought that Starscream in, and he was like his whole childhood just hit him.
Yeah.
Like a Christmas that never came. You know what I mean? And he was just like, oh my God. Like he was like, he almost didn't want to give it back. You know what I mean? He was just like, and I remember like we had a substitute teacher that day, and a substitute teacher walked by. He's like, "Why'd you bring a toy to school?" And I was going to go like, "Shut the F up." You know what I mean? Like, get the F out of here. We're not even going to see you tomorrow. You know, like. But yeah, anyways, it's just like, man, like we were lucky. We were lucky because I never had to really deal with that. Like grade school was cool. you know, especially in grade school, it was like, you know, the X-Men cartoons and stuff like that. You hit high school and it was still cool. It was still cool. And it's just that, like, we were, I want to say we were spoiled by that because we were in a really cool high school of hard-hitting brothers that just didn't give, you know, that didn't give a shit about, you know, what people watched, you know, especially like hip-hop culture in the 90s. You know, loved Voltron, loved that kind of stuff.
Transformers.
Loved
there was like if I remember right, there was a gang in New York called the Decepticons.
Yeah, but that's just it.
I remember when I went to go see my cousins in New York, and you had the guys with their motorcycles. A lot of their wind protectors or the stickers they had on the side were like were Cobra stickers, Mumra stickers, Thundercats like logos all over that.
I will never forget Tanasha, this one kid in my class. He was handing Source magazine, which is like a hip hop magazine.
Oh yeah.
He was handing Source magazine to Negus, and I remember as he's handing it to him, I saw the back of the magazine, and it was a Sprite ad with Voltron and Redman and the Wu-Tang Clan. And I was like, whoa, give me that magazine, right? And I grabbed it, and I'm looking at the back, and it was like, probably someone could Google the image. It's like, it was like a movie poster with Voltron, but it like, you know, like it has the names of all the actors, but it's actually just all the rappers being like Red Lion, da-da-da-da-da. And I was just like, what is this?
That's actually a Sprite commercial.
It was a Sprite commercial.
It was a Sprite commercial, and it was like all the rappers were members of Voltron, and they were fighting some monster, and then they all finally combined to become Voltron. They're all fighting it as separate lions, and then they all got together.
Sorry, we have a question. Sorry, guys, if we miss questions. By the way, it's because we get into talking too much. Sometimes if you do a super chat, it'll pop up on the screen, and it'll be a lot easier to notice. Mecha Metal Blade asks, Proto and JawzD, how many times did you physically move your Transformers collection? Mine has mitigated from bedroom to computer room and
migrated.
I mitigated. Sorry.
Mecha Man Blade.
Yeah.
Migrated from my bedroom to my computer room, and finally
my current place in the basement. So I first, like, the funny story with that was I used to have a den that was like a basement den that was my living room. When we got the internet I was very lucky. I got the internet in 1995, 96. I started discovering the internet, you know, visiting message boards, and I was slowly bringing down my Transformers to the living room. And then, like, it was practically taking over the living room. And then my dad made a comment, well, why don't you just move into the basement? And I was like, let's do that. You know? Moved into the basement and set up my entire collection. My entire collection was set up for decades, like, no joke. Like, probably, I want to say 1996 up until 2010. They sat, some of them never touched even. You know, like, I'd put a certain GoBot and it would just never move. And then the big move happened. That led to my new house. And that took a while. I remember a friend of mine who's also a huge collector of He-Man, a local here, Arnaud. He saw how long it was taking for me to set up, and he was like, are you okay, man? Like, you know, it's taking a while. And I'm like, bro, when you move, you're going to understand. And when he moved, he messaged me, and he was like, I get it now. Because especially when you're moving that much product and, like, moving G1 toys, you don't just throw that in a bin and just, you know, you're individually wrapping everything. You know, I get Beast Wars toys, as crazy as it sounds today, because you don't want to damage them, but back then I was throwing Beast Wars toys in a bin, you know, Armada toys in a bin. But, you know, GPS wasn't on my mind, really. Some toys did break, or get scratched or get chrome damage. But it took a while. I want to say, no joke, I moved in here 2010. It took 5 years. No joke. 5 years minimum to get all of this up and running, because it was a whole process. But keep in mind when you're talking a collection that's easily over 20,000 figures, maybe even more, for sure. It's a lot. So I mean, if you factor in it takes 5 minutes per figure and you have 20,000 of them and you're doing it 24 hours a day, it's a lot of days, you know. Take it away, because you've done it recently.
Yeah, but mine went from my room where I was living with my mom and into boxes, sadly. And only some stuff is on display. Like maybe I'll take out some stuff, and I had them at my office at where I worked, at some of my jobs, and or around my desk, so I could like mess around with them. But mostly those will be smaller figures, or maybe sometimes one giant one that I want to mess around with because I never got around to it. But only some are on display, not all of them. So, but most of them are sadly in boxes at the moment.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that, and I've told this to people for years, is that you kind of, when you do, and this is just from personal experience now after all these years, when you do your display, you don't just display for what you have, especially with this hobby. You display for what you have and what you're going to get. Because the biggest thing that makes you hit a wall, and it was the first mistake I made all those years ago living with my parents, was I displayed for what I had, and then Energon came out. This is 2002, 2003, and it's like, I don't got space anymore. And I'm hitting a wall. And then next thing you know, every single thing is just being packed away. Purchased into a box. Purchased into a box.
Yeah.
And it got crazy. So a big piece of advice I give people who are doing displays, don't just think about what you have now. Think about what you're going to get in the future. You know, like I have a spot, I'm looking at it right now where Unicron's going. You know, like that's literally how far ahead I am. Where it's like
big blank spot.
You're going like
a
literally
big, huge.
He's gonna be staring at me right
spot.
here, like right there, like here's the wall. Like I'm showing people the wall. There it is.
Is that gonna be safe when an earthquake happens?
Oh, I'm gonna build a deep shelving for that one. And,
okay, I hope so.
And what I'm gonna do is, because I'm gonna build the Unicron one there, I'm gonna build another one there. You know, the beauty of having flat screens now, it doesn't take that much space now, even near your computer. And I'm gonna probably put all the Brave stuff there. I'm gonna move the Brave stuff from the GoBot display up there, but with Unicron. But Unicron, man, like I don't think Hasbro's ever gonna do something that big ever again. So I'm pretty confident if I just do Unicron there, I won't have to worry about something else in the future. But that's like literally what we're looking at. That's the only empty wall in this whole room, if you don't count a door. You know, like doors are the only stuff in this room that have posters. Like aside from on the roof too, because you can't.
You know what I'm thinking about right now?
What?
Krusty the Clown with all the nicotine patches. I think there's some space on my butt.
I think there's some space on my butt. There's no space anymore. No,
Gotta put some shelving on your butt.
It's crazy. Like I am far from having a complete Transformer collection. There's tons of stuff missing from each era. And it's
that is not my goal. I am not.
But what's crazy?
Not about that.
But what's crazy is there's tons of stuff. Like, because people are always like, I have 10,000 Transformers. I'm missing 10,000 Transformers, and my collection is bonkers as f. You know, like. But what's crazy? I'm running out of space, and it's just me going like, oh no, what am I have? I'm gonna have to get rid of this couch and build some glass cases in the center of the room, and now I won't have a couch anymore. You know, am I gonna have to I don't want to invade the other rooms. I don't want to. I don't want to, but it's because I'm an army eater. I don't want to mix stuff together, and I don't want to put Transformers in the manga room. I don't want to put Transformers in the video game room. That stuff has its designated places.
But you've already done it, Protoman, with the Viz comics. Dun dun dun.
No.
It's already begun.
The Viz comics are not in the manga room. The Viz comics, I have it right here. The Viz comics are right here.
What about the other the Japanese mangas? Dun dun dun.
Anything the only stuff that's Transformer related that's mixed in the other rooms is the comic books, because those are in long boxes and those are in the manga room.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Otherwise, like all the book stuff, like I'm to show people on the stream here. Actually, let me just do. How do I do reverse camera?
Literally, the fight for Cybertron is happening in Protoman's room right now.
Like
it's only a matter of time one of these things are gonna rise up and say, "We need more space in the other rooms,"
You know,
and then the Great War will start.
But yeah, like I have like my book shelving for like all my art books and Transformer books and stuff like that. But it's you know, it's something that, like, from personal experience, when you have a collection the size of mine, it's still not enough. It's still not enough. Like, it's crazy. I don't have the Titan class Predaking. I don't have the Titan class Omega Supreme yet. They're coming, but I don't have them yet. And here's me going like, thank God I allocated space for them. Thank God I planned that space for them, that I know where they're going and it'll be fine. Because if I didn't plan that space and I just filled it up with something, it's like, oof. Part of me's going like, maybe certain parts of the collection might have to get relegated to other areas. Like, I have a bot shots collection on display, and I'm looking at it going like no joke. Like, I'll show you guys the bot shots display. See, look at the bot shots display. I could probably put the entire siege line in that spot. You know what I mean? Or Creo. Mind you, Creo is taking a lot of stuff, but it's like, it's something like that where I'm thinking maybe I'm going to take the bot shots, take that out, shift things around, put the bot shots maybe in a DTOF or something with some
maybe do multiple shelving.
Well, with risers, yeah, I do that a lot. Like, I'll show you guys. Here's a little cheat sheet for risers. I'm going to use. So this is a empty DTOF that I'm going to fill in the future. All the things here are temporary right now. There's some bootlegs there. Just a GoBot just like that alone. So here is a normal DTOF shelving. Look at all that wasted space. Okay? Look at all. Oh, what's with the camera there? It's a little blurry. Ignore the blurriness, but look at all that wasted space. Pretty crazy. Okay.
Ooh, that's
so
a lot, yeah.
Sorry, I just got a message there. So yeah, but then when you look at this one, right? Now keep in mind this is also gyro setter. Don't mind the titty girl there. It's the special edition and the non-special edition. But what I did is I'm not going to waste the space like this one. So look at these. You take little metal high pressure hose wraps, and you get a cut of plexi, and bang. Look at that. You took one DTOF space and doubled it up. And you could do it, you know, anywhere you want, but that's one way to do it. Where this one, I'm going to get around to it also. But when the time comes. That right there is an empty DTOF that I'm planning for Brave stuff and GoBots. But I just haven't filled it yet because we have the new GoBots line, and I'm going to probably move the stuff there. I'm going to probably move the Brave stuff there, Gal Geiger, which is still, I consider, part of the Transformers family. But yeah, it's nuts. I think Protoman has even said, if numbers are accurate, there's more Unicrons being produced than there were Generations Metroplexes. Yeah, I crunched the numbers with that, and I've talked about it with Aaron Archer once too, I think, where it's like, how many Titan class are there really out there per units of stuff? Especially back then when it was really relegated to just Toys R Us, before Walmarts and the specialty stores started carrying them. And like, there's a lot of Unicrons out there. There really is. We're gonna wrap it up soon. We've been going for 2 hours and a half now. A lot of people came. I think we peaked at around like 88 to 90. Where are you gonna put the arc? We'll see. The arc is something that if it looks really cool in vehicle mode, I might just hang it. That would be pretty cool. Like, I just hang it from the roof. That'd be pretty awesome to do. No, the
ceiling.
Tom, the new GoBots line I'm referring to is they did like a masterpiece kind of GoBots line done by Action Toys, and it kind of disappeared for a bit for a couple years, and now they're showing that they're coming back. So I'm planning. I thought that line was dead, so I was like, okay, it's done. Allocated space. Oh no, it's not done. Let's take it out of the space. But oh, even Josh is here. Jeez. Josh was here all this time too.
Yay!
Yay! Josh, I want to have you on the stream in the future. You and I'm going to have Derek too in the near future, but I want to have you on the stream. We'll do one stream together. But yeah, I've been lurking. Just picture him around the corner, just like, yeah.
with a big smile, like.
So we're just gonna do some super chats, and then we're gonna call it a night, guys. It was fun. 2.5 hours of craziness. Sorry for anyone who's coming in right now. Usually it takes, if you miss the whole thing, YouTube takes about 13 hours to encode a 2 to 3 hour live stream. So it'll be next morning. It'll be live pretty much if you missed it, and it'll have some cool stuff. You could check out everything. It's cool too. They also include the chat, so you can see what people are asking in real time and everything. But yeah, but otherwise, that is that. Once again, if you want to support the podcast and all the craziness that I do here with JawzD and everything when he pops in from time to time, he's too cool for us now. That's just what it is.
No.
He's too cool for us.
Work is crazy.
He's too cool for us. He's just like Transformers. I'm into Gundam now. No, that's just joking. But
wait, why aren't you into Gundam? What do you mean?
Yeah, what's wrong with Gundam?
No, man, I'm into Jaguar.
But yeah, if you're interested in supporting the podcast, patreon.com/Protoman, or you can hit that join button to join the membership for the podcast too. There's all kinds of little perks and stuff. Listener questions. If you pass a certain tier, I send you gifts in the mail, little things here and there, trading cards, comic books, all kinds of little wacky things. But yeah, I think that's it more or less. Thanks again, JawzD, Wendell, for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun.
Always great to have my bro from in town here. But yeah, that's it more or less, guys. Thanks again for coming. Thanks again for the super chats for anyone who gave. And as always, we'll be back next week, another time, another place, and roll out.
Take care.